Welcome back to Peak Intrigue. If you enjoy what you hear, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Today we're going on a deep dive into the life and philosophy of a figure you might not have heard of, but whose ideas resonate even thousands of years later. Diogenes of Babylon. Born around 230 BCE in Seleucia on the Tigris, Diogenes was immersed in the intellectual fervor of the Babylonian Empire. He distinguished himself not through cynicism like his namesake Diogenes of Sinope, but through mastery of dialogue, becoming a leading voice of Stoicism. He rose to head the Stoic school in Athens, succeeding Zeno of Tarsus and shaping Stoic thought for generations to come. What truly set Diogenes apart was his ability to bridge the gap between Stoic philosophy and the practical realm of politics. His teachings emphasizing catalepsy, the ability to grasp clear impressions, and the importance of reason in decision-making became invariable not just for philosophers, but for leaders as well. Diogenes' political acumen culminated in 155 BC when he led a diplomatic mission to Rome on behalf of Athens. However, his approach was far from that of a typical ambassador. Instead of solely engaging in political discourse, he introduced the Roman elite to Stoic principles, emphasizing self-control, virtue, and the pursuit of the greater good. This pivotal moment marked the beginning of Stoicism's influence on Roman culture, impacting figures like Cicero and later Marcus Aurelius. It challenges the common misconception that Stoicism and ambition are inherently opposed. While Stoics are taught to moderate desires, Diogenes exemplifies how ambition, when refined and directed by virtue, can become a powerful force for leadership and diplomacy. Rather than rejecting ambition outright, Diogenes believed in transforming it into a tool for positive change. He posited that true leadership stemmed from mastering one's own emotions and desires before attempting to guide others. This philosophy wasn't about relinquishing all ambition, but rather discerning what truly mattered and pursuing it with unwavering focus and disciplined action. His ability to effectively convey complex Stoic wisdom to a foreign audience underscores another crucial point: the power of communication in achieving success. Diogenes' legacy lies not in accumulating power or wealth, but in using his intellects and eloquence to serve his community and advocate for wisdom and ethical conduct. His journey from Babylon to Athens and finally to Rome serves as a testament to the enduring power of aligning one's ambitions with one's values. This alignment is where true strength resides. It is through this lens that we can begin to understand the depth and nuance of Diogenes' philosophy. While none of Diogenes of Babylon's writings survives in their entirety, we glean insights from fragments and references by later authors. Among his key works were dialectic art, on divination, on Athena, on the ruling faculty of the soul, on speaking, on noble birth, and on laws. He also apparently delved deeply into the realms of music and rhetoric. Instead of merely listing his works, let's delve into one that offers a particularly compelling perspective on ambition, on noble birth. This work directly challenges conventional notions of nobility, arguing that true nobility doesn't stem from lineage or social standing, but rather from the cultivation of virtue and wisdom. This perspective resonates deeply with Diogenes' own life story. Born in Seleucia, he wasn't born into Athenian aristocracy, but rose to prominence through his intellect and character. On noble birth likely served as a philosophical underpinning for his own journey, arguing that true worthiness is earned through self-mastery and moral excellence, not inherited through the accident of birth. The fragments we have of On Noble Birth suggest that Diogenes saw ambition as a potential pitfall for those who mistakenly equate it with social climbing or the pursuit of empty accolades. True ambition, in Diogenes' view, was aligned with virtue, seeking not personal aggrandizement, but the betterment of the self and the community. This concept can be applied to our own lives, challenging us to examine the motivations behind our aspirations. Are we driven by a desire for recognition and external validation, or are we striving to develop our character and contribute to something larger than ourselves? Diogenes' perspective prompts us to consider what we deem truly noble and how we can align our ambitions with those higher ideals. Moving beyond On Noble Birth, let's explore another fascinating aspect of Diogenes' thought: his perspective on music. According to the Epicurean philosopher Philodemus, Diogenes believed that music held a profound power to shape the soul, going far beyond mere entertainment or emotional catharsis. He posited that music could actually cultivate harmony and proportion within the individual, much like diet and exercise promote physical well-being. Just as we nourish our bodies with healthy food and strengthen them through physical activity, Diogenes believed that engaging with music could bring about a kind of psychological and moral health. This concept challenges us to reconsider our relationship with music in the modern world. Do we primarily see it as a source of passive enjoyment, or as a tool for personal growth and transformation. Diogenes' perspective invites us to engage with music more intentionally, exploring its potential to cultivate inner harmony and cultivate virtue. He also believed that music possessed an inherent power to inspire action. He cited the example of the trumpet or similar military instruments, capable of stirring soldiers to acts of courage. This suggests that music, for Diogenes, was not merely a passive art form, but a force capable of influencing human behavior and motivating individuals towards virtuous conduct. This idea, perhaps, has been somewhat lost in our contemporary understanding of music. While we certainly recognize music's emotional power, we often relegate it to the realm of entertainment or background noise. Diogenes challenges us to reawaken to music's potential to inspire, uplift, and even guide us towards ethical action. Diogenes' insights into music offer a compelling example of how seemingly disparate areas of life can be interconnected. He didn't view music as separate from philosophy or ethics, but rather as an integral part of cultivating a virtuous and well-ordered soul. This holistic perspective challenges us to consider how seemingly mundane aspects of our lives might contribute to our overall well-being and moral development. His emphasis on the power of music to inspire action also ties back to his broader philosophy of ambition. He recognized that true ambition wasn't simply about setting lofty goals, but also about cultivating the inner resources and motivation necessary to achieve them. Music, in his view, could serve as a source of inspiration and a reminder of the higher ideals that fueled virtuous ambition. This connection between music and ambition might seem unconventional, but it highlights the depth and interconnectedness of Diogenes' thought. He consistently sought to bridge the gap between theory and practice, between the philosophical ideals of Stoicism and their application in the real world. Diogenes' life serves as a powerful testament to the enduring relevance of Stoic principles. He navigated the complexities of the Hellenistic world, engaging in both philosophical discourse and practical politics, all while remaining grounded in the core tenets of Stoicism: self-mastery, virtue, and service to others. His legacy challenges us to consider how we might integrate these principles into our own lives. In a world often characterized by external noise and distractions, Diogenes' emphasis on inner strength and clarity of purpose offers a compelling antidote. He reminds us that true fulfillment doesn't lie in chasing fleeting pleasures or external validation, but rather in cultivating a life guided by reason, virtue, and a commitment to the greater good. Perhaps one of the most enduring lessons we can glean from Diogenes is the importance of aligning our ambitions with our values. This alignment serves as a compass, guiding our actions and ensuring that our pursuits are not driven by ego or the desire for fleeting recognition, but rather by a deeper sense of purpose. Diogenes' journey from the intellectual hub of Babylon to the philosophical center of Athens, and finally to the heart of the Roman Empire, exemplifies the transformative power of living a life guided by principle. He didn't seek power for its own sake, but rather as means to promote wisdom, justice, and the betterment of humanity. In a world often obsessed with individual achievement and material success, Diogenes' example reminds us of the importance of self-mastery, virtue, and service to others. He shows us that true ambition is not about climbing the ladder of power, but about using our abilities to make the world a better place. It's about aligning our actions with our values and striving for a life of meaning and purpose. Diogenes of Babylon, though a figure from the distant past, offers timeless wisdom for navigating the challenges of our modern world. His life and philosophy challenge us to examine our own ambitions, to seek genuine nobility through the cultivation of character, and to use our talents and resources for the betterment of ourselves and our communities. He reminds us that true strength lies in aligning our ambitions with our values, mastering ourselves before leading others, and striving for a life that reflects the timeless principles of wisdom, justice, and compassion. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Peak Intrigue. Leave a comment below. How do you balance ambition and virtue in your own life? And stay tuned for more deep dives into history's most intriguing figures. Welcome back to Peak Intrigue. If you find value in exploring fascinating and often overlooked figures from history, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. Today we delve into the life and philosophy of a man who dared to challenge the norms of his time. Aristo of Chios, born around 300 BCE on the Greek island of Chios. Aristo journeyed to Athens, the bustling heart of intellectual discourse, where he encountered the Stoic philosophy of Zeno of Citium. Now, to understand Aristo, we must first understand the world he was born into. The island of Chios, known for its beauty and fertile lands, was a center of trade and culture, a place where ideas flowed as freely as the wine from its vineyards. And it was here that Aristo first began to question the nature of reality, the meaning of life, and the pursuit of happiness. Athens, in the 3rd century BCE, was a city still echoing with the footsteps of giants. Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, their ideas had left an indelible mark on the very fabric of Athenian thought. It was a city alive with debate, where philosophical schools clashed and ideas were forged in the fires of intellectual discourse. And it was here that Aristo encountered Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism. Zeno's Stoicism, a philosophy that emphasized virtue as the sole good and living in accordance with nature as the path to happiness, would have a profound impact on Aristo. Initially, he embraced Zeno's teachings, immersing himself in the core tenets of Stoicism. However, Aristo was not a man to blindly follow any doctrine, no matter how compelling. His inquisitive mind and independent spirit led him to question, to probe, to dissect the very heart of Stoicism. And it was in this questioning that Aristo began to diverge from the traditional Stoic path. He rejected logic, arguing that its intricate rules and abstract reasoning were irrelevant to the pursuit of a virtuous life. To Aristo, logic was a distraction, a game played with words that ultimately led one further from not closer to true understanding. He dismissed physics as well, seeing the complexities of the universe as ultimately beyond human comprehension. Why waste precious time, he argued, attempting to unravel mysteries that would forever remain shrouded in obscurity? Better, he thought, to focus on what was within our grasp: the cultivation of virtue, the pursuit of a life well lived. This rejection of logic and physics was a radical departure from traditional Stoicism, a bold statement that set Aristo apart from his contemporaries. It signaled a shift in focus, a prioritization of the practical over the theoretical, of the ethical over the abstract. And it is in this prioritization that we begin to see the true heart of Aristo's philosophy. For him, ethics was not merely one branch of philosophy among many, but the very foundation upon which all else rested. It was the sole purpose of human existence, the guiding light that illuminated the path to a meaningful life. Aristo believed that understanding and cultivating virtue was not an intellectual exercise to be debated in the hallowed halls of academia, but a transformative process that demanded constant self-reflection and disciplined action. It was a way of life, a code of conduct that permeated every aspect of one's being. At the core of Aristo's ethical system was his unwavering belief in the absolute nature of good and evil. He rejected the notion of moral relativism, arguing that certain actions were inherently virtuous or vicious, regardless of societal norms or cultural context. To Aristo, morality was not a matter of opinion or personal preference, but an objective reality, a set of universal principles that transcended the boundaries of time and place. This belief in absolute moral standards stemmed from Aristo's conviction that virtue was not simply a concept, but a tangible force, a reality that existed independent of human perception. And it was this force, he believed, that held the key to true happiness and fulfillment. One of the most striking examples of Aristo's departure from traditional Stoicism is his rejection of Zeno's concept of preferred indifference. Zeno taught that while virtue was the supreme good, certain external factors such as health, wealth, and reputation were naturally preferable, even if they were not inherently good in themselves. These preferred indifference, Zeno argued, could contribute to a more flourishing life. Aristo, however, vehemently disagreed. He saw the pursuit of such externals as a dangerous distraction from the true path of virtue. To him, attaching importance to things like health, wealth, or reputation was to subject oneself to the whims of fortune, to become a slave to the ever-changing tides of circumstance. True happiness, Aristo argued, could only be found in the cultivation of virtue itself, in the inner peace that came from aligning oneself with the moral order of the universe. External circumstances, he believed, were ultimately irrelevant to one's moral state. They were but shadows, fleeting and ephemeral, while virtue stood firm, an unyielding beacon in the darkness. This rejection of preferred indifference was a radical departure from Stoic orthodoxy, a bold challenge to the very foundations of Zeno's teachings. It sparked debate and controversy, setting Aristo on a collision course with the more traditional adherents of Stoicism. But Aristo was not one to shy away from controversy. He believed that truth, no matter how uncomfortable, must be confronted, and he was prepared to defend his views, even if it meant standing alone against the tide of popular opinion. And it is in this unwavering commitment to his own principles, in his willingness to challenge the status quo, that we see the true measure of Aristo of Chios. He was a man of conviction, a philosopher who dared to forge his own path, to question even the most sacred tenets of his own school of thought. Aristotle's emphasis on indifference extended beyond the realm of material possessions and worldly success. He believed that true freedom lay in detaching oneself from all external contingencies, both positive and negative. He argued that the sage, the ideal individual who embodied perfect virtue, should be equally unperturbed by the acquisition of wealth, as by the loss of possessions, by the praise of others, as by their condemnation. This radical view challenged the conventional wisdom that equated happiness with external validation and material prosperity. It was a call to turn inward, to find contentment not in the fleeting pleasures of the world, but in the unwavering steadfastness of one's own moral compass. Aristotle's concept of the sage, this ideal individual who achieved perfect indifference to external factors, was a central element of his philosophy. The sage in Aristotle's view was not merely a theoretical construct, but a tangible goal, a state of being that any individual could strive to achieve through disciplined practice and unwavering commitment to virtue. Aristotle's sage possessed a profound understanding of the nature of good and evil and acted in accordance with this knowledge in all circumstances. Unswayed by emotions, passions, or external influences, the sage remained steadfast in their pursuit of virtue, even in the face of adversity or temptation. They were a beacon of moral clarity, a living embodiment of the principles they espoused. Central to the sage's attainment of perfect virtue was the cultivation of indifference to external factors. Aristotle believed that true happiness and fulfillment could only be found within, and that relying on external circumstances for contentment would inevitably lead to disappointment and disillusionment. By embracing indifference to preferred indifference such as health, wealth, and reputation, the sage liberated themselves from the tyranny of fortune and attained a state of tranquility and inner peace that transcended the vicissitudes of life. They became, in essence, self-sufficient, their happiness contingent upon nothing but their own unwavering commitment to virtue. Aristotle's sage embodied a radical form of self-sufficiency, relying solely on their own virtue for guidance and fulfillment. They understood that true happiness was not a product of external circumstances, but rather a state of being cultivated from within. This vision of the sage stood in stark contrast to the prevailing societal norms that emphasized the importance of external validation and material possessions. It was a challenge to the very foundations of a society that measured worth by outward appearances and material wealth. However, Aristotle's emphasis on the sage's indifference to external factors did not imply a passive withdrawal from the world. On the contrary, he believed that the sage should actively engage in society, using their wisdom and virtue to benefit others. But their actions were always guided by a deep understanding of the nature of good and evil, and they remained detached from the outcomes of their endeavors. Aristotle's sage recognized that they could not control external events, but they could control their own responses to them. By maintaining an attitude of indifference to outcomes, the sage avoided the frustration and disappointment that often accompanied the pursuit of worldly success. They acted not for personal gain or recognition, but out of a deep sense of duty and a commitment to the greater good. Aristotle's conception of the sage as an embodiment of perfect virtue and indifference was a challenging and aspirational ideal. It required a profound transformation of one's values, priorities, and way of life. It demanded a willingness to relinquish the pursuit of external validation and to find contentment in the inner sanctuary of one's own moral compass. Yet for Aristotle, this ideal represented the ultimate goal of human existence, the realization of our full potential as rational and moral beings. It was a path that demanded courage, discipline, and unwavering commitment, but it was a path that led ultimately to true freedom and lasting happiness. Despite his significant influence during his lifetime, Aristotle's legacy within the Stoic school was ultimately overshadowed by the more moderate and systematic approach of Chrysippus, who became known as the second founder of Stoicism. Chrysippus sought to reconcile Aristotle's radical views with the more traditional Stoic doctrines, leading to a more comprehensive and nuanced system of thought. However, Aristotle's emphasis on ethics and his critique of preferred indifference continued to be debated by philosophers in subsequent centuries. His ideas served as a catalyst for further exploration of the nature of virtue and the role of external factors in human happiness. Aristotle's philosophy served as a reminder that the pursuit of wisdom is not always a straightforward journey, and that even the most brilliant minds grapple with the complexities of human existence. His unorthodox approach to Stoicism challenged the prevailing norms of his time, provoking both admiration and criticism. Although his views were ultimately marginalized within the Stoic school, Aristotle's emphasis on the supremacy of ethics and his critique of preferred indifference left an enduring mark on the history of philosophy. His ideas continued to resonate with contemporary thinkers who sought to understand the nature of virtue and the path to a meaningful and fulfilling life. The later years of Aristotle's life were marked by a departure from the strict adherence to virtue that he had so passionately advocated. Accounts from his contemporaries suggested that he succumbed to the allure of pleasures and luxuries, abandoning the austere principles that had defined his philosophical system. This apparent inconsistency between Aristotle's teachings and his actions has been a subject of much speculation and debate among scholars. Some have interpreted it as evidence of hypocrisy, suggesting that Aristotle's commitment to virtue was merely a theoretical exercise that he failed to apply in his own life. Others have argued that his later years may have been a period of disillusionment or despair, perhaps brought on by personal setbacks or the realization of the inherent challenges of living a perfectly virtuous life in an imperfect world. Perhaps the weight of his own ideals, the constant striving for a state of perfect indifference, proved too heavy a burden to bear. It is also possible that Aristotle's indulgence in pleasures was a deliberate attempt to challenge the rigid boundaries he had previously established between virtue and vice. Perhaps he sought to explore the limits of his own philosophy, to test the resilience of his own convictions in the face of temptation. Or perhaps it was simply a manifestation of the inherent complexity of human nature, a reminder that even the most ardent advocate of virtue is still subject to the same weaknesses and desires that afflict us all. Regardless of the underlying reasons, Aristotle's later years served as a cautionary tale about the fragility of human nature and the constant struggle to maintain moral consistency. His story reminded us that even the most brilliant minds are susceptible to temptation, and that the pursuit of virtue is an ongoing process that requires constant vigilance and self-reflection. Aristotle's departure from his own teachings highlighted the complexities of the relationship between theory and practice in philosophy. It raised fundamental questions about the extent to which philosophical principles can and should be translated into lived experience. While some philosophers may strive to embody their ideals perfectly, others may acknowledge the inherent challenges of living a life that is entirely consistent with their theoretical convictions. The gap between the ideal and the real, between the aspiration and the actuality, is a chasm that every philosopher must ultimately confront. Aristotle's story also underscored the human dimension of philosophy, reminding us that philosophers are not abstract figures removed from the realities of everyday life, but rather individuals who grapple with the same challenges and temptations as everyone else. Their struggles and failures can serve as valuable lessons, providing insights into the nature of human nature and the ongoing quest for meaning and purpose in a complex and often unpredictable world. Aristotle's journey, like the journey of any true philosopher, was not simply a pursuit of knowledge, but a quest for self-understanding, a process of grappling with the fundamental questions that have haunted humankind since the dawn of consciousness. Who are we? What is our place in the cosmos? How should we live our lives? These are questions that have no easy answers, questions that demand not just intellectual rigor, and also a profound level of introspection, a willingness to confront the depths of our own being. Aristotle's philosophy, in its radical simplicity, its unwavering focus on the inner life, serves as a powerful reminder of this essential truth. It reminds us that the pursuit of happiness is not a chase after external validation, but an inward journey, a process of cultivating virtue, of aligning our actions with our values, of finding contentment not in the fleeting pleasures of the world, but in the steadfastness of our own moral compass. Aristotle's legacy is not simply a collection of doctrines or a set of philosophical precepts, but a challenge, an invitation to embark on our own journey of self-discovery, to confront the complexities of our own nature, and to strive for a life that is both meaningful and fulfilling. Even amidst the inevitable trials and tribulations that life throws our way, he reminds us that the path to virtue is not always easy, that it is often fraught with setbacks and temptations, that even the most ardent seeker of wisdom can stumble and fall. But he also reminds us that it is in these very struggles, in our willingness to rise again after each fall, that we discover our true strength, our resilience, our capacity for growth. Aristotle's philosophy, like the man himself, is a study in contrasts. He is both a radical and a traditionalist, a challenger of norms and an upholder of ancient wisdom. He is a beacon of moral clarity and a testament to the complexities of human nature. And it is in this very complexity and this refusal to be easily categorized or neatly defined that we find the enduring power of Aristotle's thought. He forces us to think, to question, to confront the uncomfortable truths about ourselves and the world around us. He does not offer easy answers, but rather a framework for asking the right questions, for embarking on our own journey of self-discovery, for wrestling with the timeless dilemmas that lie at the heart of the human experience. And it is in this wrestling, in this constant striving, that we find not just wisdom, but also meaning, purpose, and a sense of fulfillment that transcends the fleeting pleasures of the material world. Aristo's philosophy, though rooted in the ancient world, speaks to us across the centuries, offering insights that are as relevant today as they were in the bustling streets of Athens over 2,000 years ago. It is a philosophy that challenges us to look inward, to cultivate virtue, to find strength in our own moral compass, and to live lives that are both meaningful and fulfilling. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive into the life and thought of Aristo of Chios. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep striving for a life well lived. Welcome back to Peak Intrigue. If you enjoy exploring the intricate details of fascinating subjects, be sure to like and subscribe for more deep dives into captivating knowledge. Today we delve into the life and philosophy of Hecate of Rhodes, a figure shrouded in an intriguing mist of history. You see, unlike some of the Stoic giants whose names echo through the ages, like Epictetus or Marcus Aurelius, Hecate's original writings are lost to time. Yet his impact on Stoicism is undeniable. We only have fragments of his work gleaned from the writings of others, like Cicero and Seneca, who clearly held Hecate in high regard. These fragments paint a picture of a philosopher deeply concerned with the practical application of Stoic principles in everyday life. And that's where our deep dive begins. What can we learn from this lesser-known yet influential Stoic figure? What wisdom can we unearth from the echoes of his ideas? And perhaps most importantly, how can we apply his teachings to navigate the complexities of our own lives? Join me as we journey back to the bustling intellectual hub of Rhodes in the 1st century BCE, where Hecate honed his philosophical ideas. We'll explore his unique contributions to Stoicism, his nuanced approach to ethical concepts, and the lasting impact he had on some of the most prominent Stoic thinkers who followed in his footsteps. Let's begin with the cornerstone of Hecate's philosophy, virtue. Like other Stoics, Hecate believed that virtue was the sole true good, the ultimate path to happiness. External factors like wealth, possessions, or social standing held no intrinsic value in his view. True fulfillment could only be attained through the cultivation and practice of virtue. But Hecate didn't stop there. He delved deeper into the concept of virtue, introducing a distinction between appropriate actions and virtuous actions. This distinction reveals a fascinating nuance in his ethical framework. Imagine a spectrum of moral action. Some deeds are simply appropriate for a given situation, meeting the basic requirements of ethical conduct. But true virtue goes beyond mere appropriateness. It represents a higher level of moral excellence, a dedication to living in accordance with reason and nature in every aspect of life. This concept of appropriate actions might seem like a subtle point, but it speaks to Hecate's focus on practicality. He recognized that not every action could reach the pinnacle of perfect virtue. Instead, he offered a more relatable and achievable framework for ethical living, acknowledging the realities and complexities of human existence. Now, one might ask, how do we discern what constitutes an appropriate action versus a truly virtuous one? This is where another key element of Hecate's philosophy comes into play: practical wisdom. The ancient Greeks called it phronesis, and Hecate considered it the key to navigating the moral dilemmas of life. Practical wisdom wasn't just about theoretical knowledge. It was about applying that knowledge in real-world situations, making sound judgments, and choosing the best course of action, even in the face of challenging circumstances. Think of practical wisdom as a compass guiding us through the turbulent seas of life. It helps us discern right from wrong, make ethical choices, and ultimately lead a life aligned with our values and principles. Hecate's teachings on practical wisdom were highly influential, shaping the views of later Stoics and contributing to the broader appeal of Stoicism itself. His focus on applicability made Stoic principles accessible to a wider audience, those who sought not just abstract philosophical concepts, but practical guidance for navigating the challenges of daily life. And it's this emphasis on practicality that truly sets Hecate apart. It reveals a philosopher deeply concerned with bridging the gap between theory and practice, providing his followers with tools to live a more virtuous and fulfilling life. But Hecate's philosophical contributions didn't end with ethics. He also delved into the realm of logic, exploring the intricacies of propositional logic and grappling with the very nature of truth itself. This exploration of logic was not a mere intellectual exercise. For Hecate, logic was an essential prerequisite for living a virtuous life. He believed that clear and rational thought was the foundation of sound decision-making and ethical conduct. By honing our logical reasoning skills, we could sharpen our ability to perceive the world accurately and make choices aligned with reason and virtue. Now, as we delve deeper into Hecato's world, it's important to remember that despite his profound influence, he's often overshadowed by some of the more renowned Stoics like Seneca and Epictetus. Yet the echoes of his ideas reverberate through their works, shaping their perspectives and solidifying his place as a significant contributor to the evolution of Stoic thought. Let's turn our attention to Seneca, a Roman Stoic philosopher and statesman who lived about a century after Hecato. Seneca's letters and essays are peppered with references to Hecato's ideas, particularly his emphasis on virtue as the sole true good. But it's not just a simple echo of Hecato's teachings. Seneca takes these ideas and weaves them into his own unique tapestry of Stoic thought. For instance, Seneca frequently emphasizes the importance of living in accordance with nature, a core Stoic principle. But for Seneca, this concept is deeply intertwined with reason. He believed that by using our capacity for reason, we could understand the natural order of the universe and align our actions with it. This emphasis on the interconnectedness of reason and nature can be traced back to Hecato's teachings. Remember Hecato's distinction between appropriate actions and virtuous actions. Seneca builds upon this framework, developing a more nuanced understanding of moral progress. He recognizes that the pursuit of virtue is a journey, not a destination. We strive to make choices aligned with reason and nature, but we also acknowledge our human imperfections. There will be times when we fall short of perfect virtue. But even in those moments, we can still choose the most appropriate course of action, guided by our understanding of Stoic principles. This practical approach to ethics resonates strongly with Hecato's focus on applying Stoicism in everyday life. Both philosophers recognize that true wisdom lies not in abstract theorizing, but in the ability to translate philosophical principles into concrete actions. Now let's shift our focus to Epictetus, another towering figure in Stoicism, whose life and teachings were profoundly shaped by Hecato's ideas. Epictetus, a former slave who rose to become a renowned Stoic teacher, echoed Hecato's emphasis on focusing on what is within our control. You see, for Epictetus, true freedom lay in recognizing that we cannot control external events like wealth, health, or even the actions of others. What we can control are our own thoughts, emotions, and judgments. By focusing on our inner world, cultivating virtue, and aligning our will with the natural order, we can achieve a state of tranquility, even amidst the inevitable storms of life. This emphasis on inner control aligns perfectly with Hecato's view that virtue is the sole true good. Both philosophers believe that true happiness and fulfillment stem not from external circumstances, but from the state of our own character. By cultivating virtue, practicing self-control, and living in accordance with reason, we could achieve a sense of inner peace that transcended the vagaries of fortune. But Epictetus also expands upon Hecato's ideas in a fascinating way. He introduces the concept of indifference, things that are neither good nor bad in themselves, but rather acquire their value based on how we perceive and use them. Wealth, health, and even social status fall into this category. Epictetus argues that we should treat these indifference with a sense of detachment, neither clinging to them desperately nor rejecting them outright. Instead, we should use them wisely and virtuously, recognizing that they are ultimately tools that can either aid or hinder our pursuit of the true good, which is virtue. This nuanced perspective on external goods reflects the practicality that runs through both Hecato's and Epictetus's teachings. They recognize the realities of human existence, acknowledging that we live in a world where these externals play a role in our lives. But they also cautioned against becoming overly attached to them, reminding us that true happiness and fulfillment lie in the cultivation of our inner world. And even Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor who penned the introspective meditations, wasn't immune to Hecato's influence. Though Marcus Aurelius lived over a century after Epictetus, his writings reveal a clear lineage of thought connecting back to Hecato's core principles. In his personal reflections, Marcus Aurelius frequently emphasizes the importance of living in harmony with nature, a theme central to Hecato's teachings. He saw the universe as a rational and ordered whole, and believed that humans had a duty to live in accordance with its principles. This concept of aligning ourselves with the cosmic order resonated deeply with Hecato's belief that reason was the guiding force of a virtuous life. But Marcus Aurelius also adds his own unique perspective to this idea. He introduces the concept of logos, the divine reason that pervades the universe. For Marcus Aurelius, living in harmony with nature meant aligning ourselves with this logos, embracing our role in the cosmic order, and acting in accordance with the principles of reason, justice, and virtue. This concept of logos might seem like a departure from Hecato's more grounded philosophy. But upon closer examination, we see that both thinkers shared a profound respect for the power of reason. For Hecatto, reason was the key to navigating the complexities of life, making sound judgments, and choosing the most appropriate course of action. For Marcus Aurelius, reason was the divine spark within us, connecting us to the very fabric of the universe. While their interpretations may differ, the underlying principle remains the same. Reason is the guiding light that illuminates the path toward virtue and a life well lived. Hecatto's contributions to Stoicism extend far beyond the individual thinkers he influenced. His emphasis on practical wisdom, his nuanced approach to ethics, and his deep respect for the power of reason left an enduring mark on the evolution of Stoic thought. His ideas continue to resonate with modern audiences seeking a philosophy grounded in reason, virtue, and the pursuit of a meaningful life. But Hecatto's legacy also raises a fascinating question. How can we apply his ancient wisdom to the challenges of our modern world? What can we learn from a philosopher who lived over 2,000 years ago in a vastly different social and cultural context? The answer lies in the timeless nature of Hecatto's teachings. His focus on virtue, practical wisdom, and the pursuit of a good life transcends the boundaries of time and culture. His ideas offer a framework for navigating the complexities of human existence, regardless of the specific circumstances we face. In a world often characterized by uncertainty and rapid change, Hecatto's philosophy offers a grounding force. It reminds us that some things, like the pursuit of virtue, the importance of reason, and the value of living in accordance with nature, are as relevant today as they were in ancient Greece. By studying Hecatto's ideas and applying his principles in our own lives, we can tap into a wellspring of wisdom that can help us navigate the challenges of the modern world and live in a manner that is both fulfilling and virtuous. Hecatto's emphasis on practical wisdom is perhaps his most enduring contribution to Stoicism, and it's a concept that holds immense value for us today. In a world overflowing with information and often lacking in wisdom, Hecatto's teachings remind us that knowledge is only truly valuable when it's applied to our lives in a meaningful way. Practical wisdom isn't about memorizing philosophical doctrines or engaging in intellectual debates for the sake of argumentation. It's about cultivating the ability to discern the right course of action in any given situation, using our reason to navigate the complexities of life and make choices that align with our values and principles. Hecatto believed that practical wisdom could be developed through careful observation, reflection, and practice. By paying attention to the world around us, studying the examples of wise individuals, and consciously applying Stoic principles in our daily lives, we could hone our ability to make sound judgments and live in accordance with virtue. This emphasis on practice is what makes Hecatto's philosophy so relevant for modern audiences. It's not a philosophy of abstract theorizing, but a philosophy of action, a guide to living a more fulfilling and virtuous life. And this brings us to another key aspect of Hecatto's teachings, his nuanced perspective on wealth and poverty. In a society often driven by material pursuits, Hecatto's insights offer a refreshing antidote to the relentless pursuit of material gain. Like other Stoics, Hecatto believed that true happiness stemmed not from external possessions, but from the cultivation of virtue. He recognized that wealth and poverty were ultimately indifferent things, neither inherently good nor bad. Their value depended on how we used them, whether they aided or hindered our pursuit of a virtuous life. Hecatto didn't advocate for a life of poverty or asceticism. He acknowledged that wealth could be used for good, to fulfill our duties and obligations, to help those in need, and to contribute to the betterment of society. But he cautioned against becoming enslaved by the desire for riches, reminding us that true wealth lay in the cultivation of our character and the pursuit of a life aligned with reason and virtue. This balanced perspective on material possessions is particularly relevant in our modern consumerist culture. We're constantly bombarded with messages equating happiness with the acquisition of material goods. Hecatto's teachings remind us to question these assumptions, to recognize that true fulfillment lies not in what we own, but in the quality of our character, the strength of our relationships, and the contributions we make to the world around us. Now, as we conclude our deep dive into the life and philosophy of Hecatto of Rhodes, it's worth reflecting on the enduring power of his ideas. Though his original writings are lost to time, the echoes of his teachings reverberate through the works of later Stoics and continue to resonate with those seeking a philosophy grounded in reason, virtue, and practical wisdom. Hecatto's legacy reminds us that true wisdom is timeless. The insights of ancient philosophers can still offer valuable guidance for navigating the complexities of modern life. By studying the ideas of thinkers like Hecatto, we can gain a deeper understanding of ourselves, the world around us, and the principles that can lead to a more fulfilling and meaningful existence. And so, as we emerge from the depths of this philosophical exploration, let us carry with us the wisdom of Hecate of Rhodes. Let us remember that virtue is the sole true good, that practical wisdom is the key to navigating life's challenges, and that true happiness lies not in external possessions, but in the cultivation of our inner world. And until next time, stay intrigued. Welcome back to Peak Intrigue. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. Today we're taking a deep dive into the life and legacy of Lucius Annaeus Cornutus, a Stoic philosopher who lived during the 1st century Rome, the reign of Emperor Nero. Now, you might be thinking another Stoic philosopher, but trust me, Cornutus' story is anything but ordinary. He wasn't just teaching Stoicism, he was living it. And his actions, his writings, even his exile, paint a very vivid picture of what it meant to be a Stoic. In a world of immense power and political turmoil, we know quite a bit about Cornutus from historical accounts and his own writings. Born in Leptis Magna in present-day Libya, he eventually found himself in the heart of the Roman Empire, where he established a school and became a prominent figure in intellectual circles. But to truly understand Cornutus, we need to go beyond the basic biographical details and delve into the heart of his philosophy, his impact on his students, and his unwavering commitment to truth, even when it meant challenging the emperor himself. One of the most fascinating aspects of Cornutus' work is his approach to Greek mythology. He saw these ancient myths not as mere stories, but as allegorical representations of natural and ethical principles. Imagine trying to teach complex philosophical ideas in a world without textbooks or universities. Cornutus found a way to make Stoicism relatable, weaving its principles into the fabric of stories that were already deeply ingrained in Roman culture. His most famous work, the Theologiae Graeca Compendium, is a prime example of this. In it, he meticulously dissects the names and attributes of Greek gods and goddesses, revealing deeper layers of meaning that connect to Stoic philosophy. For example, he explains that Zeus, the king of the gods, represents the rational force that governs the universe, a concept central to Stoic beliefs about the interconnectedness and order of the cosmos. By interpreting mythology in this way, Cornutus achieved something truly remarkable. He bridged the gap between ancient traditions and philosophical reasoning, making Stoicism accessible to a wider audience and ensuring its continued relevance in a rapidly changing world. And this wasn't just an intellectual exercise, it was a way of life. Cornutus believed that understanding the Stoic principles embedded in these myths could provide guidance for navigating the challenges of daily life. But Cornutus's impact goes far beyond his interpretations of mythology. He was also a respected teacher, and his most famous student, the poet Persius, provides a glimpse into the profound influence Cornutus had on those who studied under him. Persius's satires are infused with Stoic themes, reflections of Cornutus's teachings on virtue, the rejection of materialism, and the importance of living in accordance with nature. Their relationship was more than just teacher and student. It was a testament to the power of mentorship and the transmission of ideas across generations. Imagine the conversations they must have had, debating philosophical concepts, critiquing the excesses of Roman society, and exploring the complexities of human nature through the lens of Stoicism. Through Persius's poetry, Cornutus's ideas continue to resonate, challenging the status quo and offering an alternative to the prevailing moral decay of the time. And this brings us to a crucial point in Cornutus's story, one that truly highlights his unwavering commitment to his principles. He lived during a time of immense political turbulence under the rule of Emperor Nero, a figure notorious for his tyranny and excesses. It was a dangerous time to be a philosopher, especially one who dared to criticize the emperor. Yet despite the risks, Cornutus remained true to his Stoic beliefs. He spoke out against Nero's ambitions and his lavish lifestyle, advocating for a life guided by reason and virtue. And as you might imagine, this didn't sit well with the emperor. In a move that shocked many, Cornutus was banished from Rome, a testament to the clash between philosophy and power that often played out during this era. But even in exile, Cornutus's spirit remained unbroken. His story reminds us that true strength lies not in physical power or political influence, but in the unwavering commitment to one's principles, even in the face of adversity. And while his exile might seem like a tragic ending, it's important to remember that Cornutus's ideas continue to spread, his writings continue to inspire, and his legacy as a Stoic philosopher who dared to challenge the emperor himself lived on. Cornutus's exile wasn't an isolated incident. It's a stark reminder of the precarious position philosophers often held in societies ruled by absolute power. Think about figures like Seneca, another prominent Stoic philosopher, who met a tragic end under Nero's reign. These were individuals who dared to challenge the prevailing norms, to question the excesses of those in power, and to advocate for a life guided by reason and virtue. And often their commitment to these principles came at a great personal cost. Carnutus' story also highlights the importance of understanding the broader intellectual and political context of his time. First-century Rome was a period of immense change, marked by political intrigue, social upheaval, and a clash between traditional values and new ways of thinking. Stoicism, with its emphasis on self-control, resilience, and living in accordance with nature, offered a compelling alternative to the prevailing hedonism and moral decay that many saw as characteristic of Roman society under Nero. It's important to remember that Carnutus wasn't operating in isolation. He was part of a vibrant intellectual community, a network of thinkers, writers, and philosophers who were engaging with Stoic ideas, debating their implications and applying them to the challenges of their time. We see this in his interactions with fathers like Seneca and the epic poet Lucan, both of whom were associated with the Stoic school of thought. Imagine the lively discussions that must have taken place in the gardens and villas of Rome, as these intellectuals grappled with the complexities of Stoic philosophy, explored its relevance to political and social issues, and sought to understand its potential to shape a better world. Carnutus' contributions to this intellectual ferment were significant. His writings, his teachings, and his willingness to challenge the status quo helped to shape the development of Stoicism in Roman society and ensured its enduring legacy. Now let's delve a bit deeper into the core principles of Stoicism that so profoundly influenced Carnutus and his contemporaries. Stoicism, which originated in Greece in the 3rd century BC, offered a comprehensive philosophy of life, a way of understanding the world and one's place within it. At its core, Stoicism emphasized living in accordance with nature, a concept that encompassed both the natural world and the rational nature of human beings. For Stoics like Carnutus, virtue was the sole good, and external factors such as wealth, fame, or power were ultimately indifferent. They sought to cultivate inner peace and tranquility by controlling their emotions, accepting what was beyond their control, and focusing on what they could influence, their own thoughts, actions, and responses to external events. This philosophy, with its emphasis on self-mastery, resilience, and moral integrity, provided a compelling framework for navigating the challenges and uncertainties of life in ancient Rome. Carnutus' teachings and writings played a crucial role in popularizing Stoicism in Roman society. His interpretations of Greek mythology made complex philosophical ideas more accessible to a wider audience. He used the familiar stories of gods and goddesses to illustrate Stoic principles, making them relatable and relevant to people from all walks of life. Think about it in a society where storytelling was a primary means of transmitting knowledge and values. Carnutus' approach was both innovative and effective. His emphasis on etymology, the study of the origin of words, as a tool for uncovering deeper meanings within ancient myths, demonstrated the Stoic commitment to reason and logic. By examining the roots of words, Carnutus sought to reveal the underlying concepts and principles that informed the myths. This meticulous approach to language, combined with his insightful interpretations, helped to bridge the gap between traditional beliefs and philosophical inquiry, making Stoicism a compelling intellectual force in Roman society. But Carnutus' impact went beyond the realm of intellectual discourse. His emphasis on living a virtuous life resonated with those seeking meaning and purpose amidst the moral complexities of Roman society. Stoicism provided a framework for ethical decision-making, encouraging individuals to focus on what is truly important in life: virtue, wisdom, and living in accordance with nature. It's no surprise that Stoicism appealed to a wide range of people in Roman society, from emperors and senators to soldiers and slaves. It offered a path to inner peace and fulfillment, regardless of one's social standing or external circumstances. And Carnutus, with his clear, engaging teachings, played a key role in spreading these ideas, helping to shape the moral and intellectual landscape of his time. Carnutus' legacy extends far beyond the confines of ancient Rome. His writings and teachings have influenced generations of thinkers and writers, and his insights into Stoicism continue to be studied and debated to this day. What's remarkable is how these ideas, developed centuries ago, still resonate with those seeking wisdom and guidance in a world that often feels chaotic and unpredictable. Think about the core principles of Stoicism: the emphasis on virtue, the acceptance of what we cannot control, and the focus on living in accordance with nature. These ideas offer a timeless framework for navigating life's challenges, for finding meaning and purpose, and for cultivating a sense of inner peace that transcends the turbulence of the external world. Carnutus' story serves as a powerful reminder of the enduring relevance of philosophy, to guide our lives and provide solace in times of difficulty. His interpretations of Greek mythology, his commitment to his students, and his unwavering courage in the face of imperial power offer valuable lessons for us today. In a world that often prioritizes material success, fleeting fame, and the pursuit of external validation, Stoicism, as championed by Cornutus, reminds us of the importance of cultivating inner strength, integrity, and a deep understanding of our place in the grand scheme of things. It encourages us to focus on what truly matters: our character, our actions, and our responses to the inevitable challenges that life throws our way. Cornutus's life also highlights the importance of intellectual freedom and the courage to speak truth to power, in an age where conformity and obedience are often rewarded. His willingness to challenge the emperor's authority stands as a testament to the power of individual conscience and the importance of speaking out against injustice, even when it carries significant personal risk. His story inspires us to question the status quo, to challenge assumptions, and to advocate for a more just and ethical world. It reminds us that true leadership lies not in wielding power over others, but in living by principles that inspire and uplift those around us. And perhaps most importantly, Cornutus's legacy reminds us that the pursuit of wisdom is a lifelong journey. It's a process of continuous learning, self-reflection, and engagement with ideas that challenge our perspectives and broaden our understanding of the world. As we conclude our deep dive into the life and influence of Lucius Annaeus Cornutus, I want to leave you with a final thought. Imagine the world we could create if we all embraced the Stoic principles that Cornutus so passionately championed. A world where reason and virtue guide our actions, where we face adversity with resilience and grace, and where we strive to live in harmony with nature and with each other. It's a challenging vision, to be sure, but one worth striving for. And perhaps by reflecting on the life and legacy of this remarkable Stoic philosopher, we can find inspiration and guidance for our own journey toward a more meaningful and fulfilling life. And that concludes our deep dive into the life and influence of Lucius Annaeus Cornutus. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Peak Intrigue for more fascinating deep dives into history's most intriguing figures and ideas.
Welcome back to Peak Intrigue. If you appreciate these deep dives into fascinating corners of history and philosophy, please like and subscribe to the channel. Today we're going to explore the life and influence of Arrius Didymus, a Stoic philosopher who played a pivotal role in shaping the Roman Empire as we know it. Arrius Didymus was from Alexandria, active during the 1st century BC. He was known for summarizing Stoic and Peripatetic doctrines. Imagine having a Cliff's Notes for ancient philosophy. But his real claim to fame was that he was a teacher and advisor to Augustus Caesar, the first Roman emperor. Arrius wasn't just a tutor. He became a close friend and confidant to Augustus. Think about the influence he must have had. Imagine whispering wisdom into the ear of the most powerful man in the world. His 2 sons also became part of Augustus's inner circle, almost like family. Now think about the implications of this. A philosopher, a man of ideas, at the heart of power. What does this tell us about Augustus? Was he seeking moral guidance, intellectual companionship, or perhaps a strategic advantage in understanding the philosophical underpinnings of his rivals? And what about Arrius?
What drove him to accept this position? Was it a sense of duty, a belief that he could shape the future for the better, or perhaps a more pragmatic desire for influence and security? These questions linger, but one thing remains clear. The relationship between Arrius and Augustus transcended the typical boundaries of power and intellect. One particularly telling anecdote reveals the extent of Arrius's influence. Following Augustus's conquest of Alexandria, the city braced itself for retribution. The citizens feared the worst, expecting the full force of Roman might to be unleashed upon them. Yet Augustus surprised everyone. He spared the city, and in a public declaration, he stated that his clemency was in part due to his respect for Arrius. Imagine that, a conqueror, a man who held the fate of a city in his hands, acknowledging the influence of a philosopher. This was not a symbolic gesture. This was a public affirmation of the esteem in which Augustus held Arrius. It suggests that Arrius's counsel, his perspective on justice and mercy, may have truly stayed the emperor's hand. This event offers a glimpse into the depth of their bond and the power of philosophy to influence even the most consequential decisions. The relationship between Arrius and Augustus was not simply one of respect and influence. It was also deeply personal. Arrius was a close friend to Augustus' family, a confidant in times of both triumph and tragedy. He even wrote a letter of consolation to Lysia, Augustus' wife, after the death of her son, Drusus. This letter, a testament to Arrius' deep understanding of human nature and the Stoic principles he espoused, is said to have offered timeless advice on coping with grief, urging Livia to stand firm and endure the burdens of fate. It's a poignant reminder that even those in positions of power are not immune to the trials of life. and that even emperors turned to philosophers for solace and guidance. His act of writing to the emperor's wife in her hour of need speaks volumes about Arius's character and his position. Within the imperial family, he was not merely a teacher or advisor, but a trusted friend, someone who could offer comfort and wisdom. During times of profound personal loss, it is in these intimate moments that we truly see the human side of Arius and the depth of his connection to those he served. The image of the emperor's wife, finding solace in the words of a philosopher, is a powerful one. It suggests that even in the midst of the brutal realities of ancient Rome, there was a place for compassion, for intellectual and emotional support, and it is through these personal connections that we begin to understand the true extent of Arius's influence on Augustus and the world around him. As we delve deeper into the relationship between Arius and Augustus, we must confront one of the most controversial episodes in their shared history, the execution of Caesarion. Caesarion, the son of Cleopatra and Julius Caesar, represented a potential threat to Augustus's claim to power. Some historical accounts suggest that it was Arius who counseled Augustus to eliminate this rival, arguing that it was necessary to ensure stability and prevent future conflict. This act, as true, raises profound questions about the limits of philosophical idealism when confronted with the brutal realities of power. Did Arius truly believe that the death of a young man, even one who posed a potential threat, was justified in the pursuit of a greater good? Or was this a moment of pragmatic calculation, a sacrifice of principle on the altar of political expediency? The execution of Caesarion remains a stain on Augustus's legacy, a stark reminder that even those who espouse lofty ideals can be driven to acts of ruthlessness. It also casts a shadow on Arius's role as advisor, raising questions about the extent to which he may have shaped, or even condoned, Augustus's more ruthless actions. Was Arius a willing participant in these decisions, or was he a voice of moderation, attempting to temper Augustus's more extreme impulses? The historical record is inconclusive, leaving us to grapple with the complexities of their relationship and the moral dilemmas they faced. Beyond the shadows of such events, we can also trace the influence of Arius's Stoic teachings and Augustus's efforts to reform Roman society. Augustus sought to restore traditional values and morality, which had been eroded during the preceding duty and responsibility among the Roman people. These reforms aligned with the Stoic emphasis on virtue, self-control, and living in accordance with nature. While it is impossible to say with certainty whether Arius directly inspired these specific policies, it is clear that they resonated with the principles he espoused. Augustus's efforts to create a more virtuous and harmonious society reflect the Stoic belief that the well-being of the state is inextricably linked to the moral character of its citizens. Furthermore, Augustus's emphasis on peace and stability following decades of conflict is consistent with a Stoic focus on accepting what is beyond one's control and focusing on what one can influence. The Stoics believe that external events are often beyond our power to change, and that true freedom lies in accepting this reality and choosing to act virtuously regardless of circumstance. Augustus' decision to end the cycle of civil war and establish a lasting peace may have been motivated by pragmatic considerations, but it also aligns with the Stoic ideal of tranquility and equanimity in the face of adversity. The question of Arius's direct impact on Augustus's policies remains a subject of scholarly debate. Some historians argue that Arius was the key architect of Augustus' reforms, while others contend that his influence was more subtle and indirect. Regardless of the specific details, it is undeniable that Arius's Stoic teachings provided a framework for understanding and navigating the challenges of leadership and the complexities of human nature. His emphasis on virtue, reason, and living in accordance with nature offered a compelling alternative to the cynicism and self-interest that had characterized much of Roman politics in the preceding era. And it was this philosophy, a philosophy rooted in the pursuit of wisdom, justice, courage, and self-control, that Augustus sought to embody in his role as emperor. Whether he succeeded in fully living up to these ideals is a matter of interpretation. But there is no doubt that Arius's teachings left an indelible mark on Augustus's worldview and on the course of Roman history. The influence of Arius Didymus extends far beyond his personal relationship with Augustus. His work as a scholar and a teacher had a lasting impact on Roman intellectual life, shaping the way Stoicism was understood and practiced for generations to come. Remember, Arius was known for his ability to synthesize and clarify complex philosophical ideas. He essentially created a comprehensive guide to Stoicism, distilling the essence of this ancient philosophy into a form that was accessible to a wider audience. This was no small feat. Stoicism, with its roots in the teachings of Zeno and Chrysippus, could be daunting for even those dedicated students. Arius, however, had a knack for making the profound seem comprehensible, the abstract seem concrete. His summaries and commentaries on Stoic doctrines served as essential texts for those seeking to understand this influential philosophy. They provided a framework for grappling with the fundamental questions of human existence, the nature of virtue, the pursuit of happiness, and the meaning of life itself. Through his writings, Arius ensured that Stoicism would not remain confined to the ivory towers of academia, but would instead permeate Roman society, influencing everything from personal ethics to political discourse. We can see evidence of this influence in the works of later Roman Stoics, such as Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius. These thinkers, each in their own way, drew upon the foundations laid by Arius, building upon his interpretations of Stoic principles and applying them to the challenges of their own times. Seneca, a statesman and playwright, explored the Stoic concept of virtue in his letters and essays, offering guidance on how to live a life of reason and self-control. Epictetus, a former slave, emphasized the importance of accepting what is beyond our control and focusing on our own thoughts and actions. And Marcus Aurelius, the emperor philosopher, reflected on the Stoic ideals of duty, justice, and tranquility in his personal meditations. These later Stoics, while developing their own unique perspectives on the philosophy, all acknowledged the debt they owed to their predecessors, including Arius Didymus. They saw themselves as part of a larger intellectual tradition, a lineage of thinkers who sought to understand the world and live in accordance with reason and virtue. And it was Arius who played a crucial role in transmitting this tradition, ensuring that the wisdom, the Stoic themes, such as virtue, duty, and the acceptance of fate, found expression in a wide range of creative works. Roman sculptors depicted Stoic heroes and philosophers as models of wisdom and fortitude. Poets and playwrights explored Stoic ideas about the nature of happiness and the fragility of human life. And historians chronicle the lives of Stoic statesmen and emperors, highlighting their courage, integrity, and commitment to the common good. This pervasive influence of Stoicism is a testament to the power of ideas to shape the cultural landscape of a society. Arius Didymus, by making Stoicism accessible and compelling, contributed to its widespread appeal among Romans from all walks of life. His work helped to create an intellectual climate in which Stoic values were not merely abstract principles, but living ideals that could inspire and guide individuals and communities alike. As we conclude our deep dive into the life and legacy of Arius Didymus, we are left with a profound sense of admiration for this remarkable figure. He was a scholar, a teacher, a confidant to an emperor, a man whose ideas helped to shape the course of Roman history. His story reminds us the enduring power of philosophy to provide guidance and meaning in the face of life's challenges. While Arius Didymus may not be a household name today, his contributions to philosophy and Roman culture deserve to be remembered and celebrated. He stands as a testament to the power of ideas, the importance of education, and the lasting impact that one individual can have on the world. And perhaps most importantly, he invites us to consider the role that philosophy can play in our own lives as we seek to navigate the complexities of the human experience and strive to live lives of purpose and virtue. If you found value in this exploration of Arius Didymus, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more deep dives into fascinating corners of history and philosophy. Till next time, keep seeking. Welcome back to Peak Intrigue. If you find value in the rarefied knowledge shared here, do consider liking this episode and subscribing to the channel. Today, we begin a deep dive into the wisdom of Antipater of Tarsus, a Stoic philosopher whose name you might not immediately recognize, but his ideas have resonated across centuries. Imagine the bustling city of Tarsus in the 2nd century BC. This is where Antipater's story begins. In a time when the Stoic school founded by Zeno of Citium was thriving, its teachings, centered on virtue, reason, and living in harmony with nature, drew in those searching for meaning in an ever-changing world. Antipater Drawn to these ideas, journeyed to Athens, the intellectual hub of the ancient world. There he immersed himself in the Stoic school under Diogenes of Babylon, the school's leader. Antipater's intellect quickly became apparent, and he soon found himself at the forefront of Stoic thought. When Diogenes stepped down, Antipater assumed leadership, becoming what was known as the scholarch. Think of it as the headmaster of philosophical ideas, guiding Stoic thought and defending its principles against rival schools. This is an era of constant debate between different schools of thought, challenging each other's ideas. And Antipater was right in the middle of it. He was known for his staunch defense of Stoic doctrines, especially against the skeptics who questioned the very possibility of certain knowledge. Consider that for a moment. Can we ever truly be certain of anything? This was a question that Antipater grappled with, and his arguments, grounded in logic and reason, aimed to prove the validity and soundness of the Stoic approach to knowledge. But what were the core tenets of Stoicism? Well, one central idea was the concept of fate. The Stoics believed in a cosmic order governing the universe, a predetermined sequence of events. This idea might seem a bit unsettling initially as it raises questions about our own free will and the extent of control we have over our lives. Antipater, like many Stoics, directly addressed this complex issue. While he believed in fate, he emphasized the importance of focusing on what we can control, our thoughts and actions. This resonates even today. Think about the aspects of your life beyond your control, circumstances you cannot change. Antipater's teachings suggest that instead of dwelling on these, we should channel our energy towards what we can influence, making the best choices within our own lives. But Antipater didn't stop there. He was a prolific thinker who delved into many areas of philosophy, including ethics. To put it simply, ethics is the study of how we ought to live, what constitutes a good and virtuous life. And this is where Antipater made significant contributions. He expanded on the Stoic idea of appropriate actions, actions aligned with reason and nature. Imagine yourself facing a difficult choice. How do you determine the right course of action? The Stoics believed that reason should guide us, that we should strive to act in accordance with the natural order. However, Antipater brought nuance to this idea. While some Stoics saw emotions as irrational and something to be suppressed, Antipater recognized that certain emotions could align with virtue and reason. He argued that a wise person could experience joy in virtuous actions or feel appropriate grief at the loss of a loved one. This differed significantly from the stricter views of some earlier Stoics, and it made Stoic ethics more relatable and applicable to everyday life. Consider this. We are, after all, emotional beings. Antipater's understanding of emotions added depth to Stoic philosophy, acknowledging the complexities of human experience while advocating for a life guided by reason and virtue. Now, you might be wondering, what relevance does all this hold for me? How can the teachings of a philosopher from centuries ago apply to our lives today? That's what we're here to explore. Antipater's ideas on fate, focusing on what we can control, his nuanced understanding of ethics and the role of emotions, all offer valuable insights for navigating the challenges of modern life. Join us as we delve deeper into the world of Antipater of Tarsus, uncovering the wisdom hidden within his philosophical legacy. Antipater's philosophical inquiries, they extended beyond the realm of just personal ethics. He also delved into social ethics, exploring the responsibilities individuals have within a community. In other words, how should we act not only for our own benefit, but for the benefit of others as well? Antipater really stressed the importance of justice, civic duty, and living in harmony with those around us. He held the belief that true wisdom transcended mere personal virtue, and it included a commitment to the well-being of society at large. His teachings remind us that we aren't isolated individuals, but rather we are part of a larger community. Our actions, they have ripple effects, extending far beyond ourselves, impacting those around us and shaping the very fabric of the society we inhabit. Antipater's call for active citizenship, it's a potent reminder of our interconnectedness and the responsibility that we bear to contribute to a greater good. Think about the choices that you make every day. How do these choices impact your family, your community, the world around you? Antipater's teachings encourage us to consider the broader implications of our actions and strive to live in a way that benefits not only ourselves, but also benefits the community as a whole. Now, Antipater wasn't solely focused on how we live in the present. He also grappled with questions surrounding the nature of the divine, the existence and the attributes of God. This was a recurring theme among Stoic philosophers. They sought to reconcile their beliefs with the prevalent religious ideas of their era. Stoics, they generally believed in a rational and ordered cosmos, governed by a divine logos, a principle of reason permeating the universe. Antipater's precise views on God's nature, however, they remain a subject of debate among scholars. Certain sources suggest that he perceived God as a benevolent and providential force, guiding and caring for all of humanity. Other sources attribute to him more pantheistic leanings, viewing the divine as immanent within the world itself, present in all things. Irrespective of his specific beliefs about God's nature, Antipater's explorations into the divine realm reflect a profound curiosity about those fundamental questions that have captivated human minds throughout history. Where do we come from? What is the purpose behind our existence? Is there something greater than ourselves that governs this universe? These are questions that have echoed across ages and continue to both challenge and inspire us even today. Antipater's willingness to confront these profound questions. It demonstrates the breadth and depth of his philosophical inquiries. He wasn't content with simply addressing practical matters of ethics or logic. He also sought to comprehend the very nature of reality itself, exploring the mysteries of the cosmos and the role of the divine in human life. Antipater's influence. It wasn't confined to just his own lifetime. His teachings shaped the evolution of Stoic thought for generations that followed, influencing prominent Stoic figures such as Panaetius and Posidonius. His ideas continued to circulate throughout the Roman world, reaching emperors, senators, and ordinary citizens seeking wisdom and guidance. Antipater's legacy. It lives on not only in the fragmented pieces of his written works, but also in the lasting impact that he had on the evolution of Stoic thought. His ideas about virtue, reason, social responsibility, and even the nature of the divine, they continue to resonate with us today, offering invaluable insights into how we navigate the intricacies of modern life. Despite living centuries ago, Antipater's work speaks to the enduring human quest for meaning, purpose, and a path towards living a good life. His teachings serve as a reminder that philosophy isn't merely an abstract intellectual pursuit, but rather it's a practical compass for living, a means to understand ourselves, the world that surrounds us, and our place within the grand scheme of things. Antipater's legacy is a testament to the power that ideas possess, the power to transcend time and culture, offering wisdom and insights that remain both relevant and applicable. Even in our contemporary world, Antipater's legacy as a Stoic philosopher, it's multifaceted, shaped by his contributions to ethics, logic, and even the nature of the divine. His teachings, though fragmented and scattered across those ancient texts, they offer us a glimpse into the mind of a truly profound thinker, someone who grappled with those fundamental questions, the ones that have captivated humanity for centuries. One of Antipater's most notable contributions to Stoic thought is his emphasis on discerning the better good. When faced with ethical dilemmas, this concept really highlights his commitment to a nuanced and practical approach to virtue. He understood that the pursuit of a virtuous life is not always a straight path. It often requires careful consideration of those competing values and the potential consequences that come with them. Think about it for a second. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you had to make a choice between two seemingly good options, where each path had its own set of advantages and disadvantages? This is where that concept of the better good comes into play. Antipater believed that even when we're presented with multiple good choices, we must strive to identify the option that is ultimately more in line with reason and virtue. It's about making the choice that leads to the greatest overall good. His teachings, they encourage us to cultivate our capacity for ethical reasoning, to hone our ability to make choices that truly align with our highest principles, even when faced with the most challenging circumstances. Antipater's contributions to logic and epistemology, though they're less extensively documented than his work on ethics, they were nonetheless significant. He engaged in those rigorous debates with the skeptics, those who questioned the very possibility of certain knowledge. Remember, the skeptics argued that true knowledge is unattainable, that our senses and our very capacity for reasoning are inherently flawed, and that they cannot lead us to any kind of certainty. Antipater, however, he pushed back against this view, defending that Stoic belief in the possibility of certain knowledge. His arguments, deeply rooted in both reason and observation, sought to demonstrate that human beings are indeed capable of grasping truth. Through that process of careful reasoning and using empirical evidence, he believed that while our senses may at times deceive us and our reasoning might falter, we can still arrive at a reliable form of knowledge. It comes through a process of meticulous observation, logical analysis, and testing our beliefs against the world that we experience. Antipater's defense of that Stoic epistemology, it underscores the vital importance of critical thinking, of not simply accepting things at face value, but questioning our assumptions, scrutinizing the evidence, and striving to arrive at beliefs that are truly well-founded. Antipater's explorations into the nature of the divine, while shrouded in some ambiguity, they reveal his willingness to tackle those truly profound metaphysical questions. As we touched upon earlier, the Stoics generally believed in a rational and ordered cosmos, governed by a divine logos. This principle of reason, it permeates the universe, Antipater's specific views on the nature of God, however, they remain a point of contention among scholars. Some sources indicate that he embraced a more traditional understanding of God as a benevolent and providential force, guiding and caring for humanity. Others attribute to him more pantheistic leanings, viewing the divine as immanent within the very fabric of the world itself, present in everything, regardless of whether you held a more traditional theistic view or leaned towards that idea of pantheism. Antipater's inquiries into this realm, they reflect a deep-seated curiosity about the ultimate nature of reality and about humanity's place within it. He grappled with those questions that have resonated throughout human history. Where do we originate? What is the purpose behind our very existence? Is there some entity, something greater than ourselves, that governs this vast universe? Antipater's willingness to engage with such profound questions, it really showcases the depth and the breadth of his philosophical increase. That desire to understand not just the practical aspects of everyday life, but also the very essence of reality itself. Now, Antipater's legacy, it goes beyond his specific philosophical doctrines. He stands as an example of a devoted scholar and a dedicated teacher, committed to guiding his students towards lives filled with wisdom and virtue. His leadership of the Stoic school in Athens, a position of immense intellectual prestige, it really reflects his profound impact on the way that Stoic thought developed. He wasn't only a brilliant thinker, but also a revered mentor, shaping the minds of those future generations of Stoic philosophers. Antipater of Tarsus may not be a name we all instantly recognize, but his contributions to philosophy, particularly within that Stoic tradition, they are undeniable. His teachings on ethics, logic, and the nature of the divine, they offer invaluable insights for all of us, especially for those who are seeking to live a more thoughtful, more purposeful, and ultimately more fulfilling life. His legacy serves as a potent reminder of the enduring power of philosophy. It has the power to illuminate the human condition and guide us toward a deeper understanding of ourselves, the world around us, and those very principles that can lead us to lives filled with meaning and virtue. Antipater's story reminds us that philosophy isn't just some abstract intellectual pursuit, confined to the dusty pages of ancient texts. It's a living tradition, a source of wisdom and guidance that can help us navigate the complexities of modern life. And it can help us find meaning, find purpose, in a world that often feels chaotic and uncertain. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the very depths of Peak Intrigue. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more explorations into the most fascinating corners of knowledge. Welcome back to Peak Intrigue. If you're enjoying these deep dives into the minds and ideas that have shaped our world, be sure to like and subscribe. Today we're going to be taking a look at Boethus of Sidon. Boethus was a philosopher who lived in the 1st century BC, a time of, great upheaval and intellectual change. He was a follower of the peripatetic school of philosophy, a tradition that was, of course, established by Aristotle. But unlike many of his contemporaries, Boethus, he wasn't content to simply follow the well-trodden paths of his predecessors. He carved his own unique path, questioning even the most established ideas and offering a radically different perspective on the nature of reality and the human self. What makes Boethus so intriguing is that none of his own writings survived. We only know about him through the works of others who mentioned him in passing, almost like a whisper from the past. It's as if we're trying to piece together a puzzle with only a few scattered pieces. And yet even from these fragments, we can sense the brilliance and originality of his thought. One of the most tantalizing glimpses we have of Boethus comes from the writings of Strabo, a renowned geographer and historian who happened to be a student of Boethus' brother. This suggests that Boethus moved in circles of considerable intellectual influence, his ideas debated and discussed by the leading thinkers of his day. But what were those ideas? And how can we reconstruct them from the scattered references that have come down to us? Fortunately, a 2020 compilation brought together all known mentions of Boethus, providing us with the most comprehensive view of this enigmatic figure to date. It's like assembling a mosaic, each fragment offering a glimpse into a larger and more complex picture. Now, one of the most striking aspects of Boethus' philosophy is his willingness to challenge even the most revered figures in his tradition. He took on Aristotle himself, disagreeing with the standard way of approaching Aristotle's vast body of work. The prevailing view at the time, championed by a prominent philosopher named Andronicus of Rhodes, was to start with logic. Logic was seen as the foundation, the necessary tool for understanding Aristotle's more complex ideas. But Boethus had a different perspective. He argued that the study of Aristotle should begin not with abstract logic, but with physics, with an understanding of the natural world. It's as if he was saying, before we delve into the complexities of human reasoning, let us first understand the fundamental reality that surrounds us. This challenge to established thinking reveals a key element of Boethus' intellectual spirit, a commitment to independent thought, even when it meant questioning the very foundations of his own philosophical school. He wasn't afraid to go against the grain, to forge his own path, and to offer a fresh perspective on age-old questions. And this independent spirit led Boethus to one of his most radical and thought-provoking ideas, a concept that fundamentally challenged how we understand the very nature of reality. It's his conception of substance. Now, to grasp the significance of Boethus' contribution, we need to understand how substance was traditionally understood in peripatetic philosophy. Think of substance as the underlying essence of reality, that which makes a thing what it is. For Aristotle and many of his followers, substance was universal. It was the common element that united all things, despite their individual differences. Imagine a block of marble. It can be sculpted into an infinite variety of forms, but the underlying substance, the marble itself, remains the same. This is how many philosophers understood the world. They saw substance as this underlying unity that persisted through all change and diversity. But Boethus, he radically departed from this view. He argued that substance was not some universal matter, but rather the individual form of being. This is a profound shift in perspective. It means that individuality is not just how we perceive reality, but is the essence of reality itself. Each form, each individual entity is unique and contributes to the mosaic of existence. To return to our marble analogy, Boethus is saying that it's not the marble itself that matters, but the individual sculpture that emerges from it. It's the unique form that defines the substance, not the other way around. Now imagine the implications of this idea. It's a celebration of individuality, a recognition that the world is composed not of some uniform substance, but of a dazzling array of unique forms, each with its own inherent value. This is a profound departure from traditional metaphysics, and it opens up a whole new way of understanding the world around us. It challenges us to look beyond the generalizations and to appreciate the beauty and complexity of individual existence. But Boethus' radicalism didn't stop at metaphysics. He applied this same spirit of independent thought to the realm of ethics, asking fundamental questions about human motivation and the nature of love. And his answer was as provocative as it was controversial. He argued that our primary motivation is self-love. We love others only in relation to ourselves, seeking what benefits us first and foremost. This view challenges traditional ideas of altruism and asks us to consider the complex interplay of self and other in our ethical choices. It's a perspective that can make us uncomfortable because it forces us to confront the possibility that even our most selfless acts may be ultimately rooted in our own self-interest. Think about it. Is it possible to act purely out of love for another without any consideration for our own needs or desires? Or is there always a part of us that is seeking some benefit, whether it's the feeling of satisfaction that comes from helping others or the hope of reciprocation? Boethus seems to be suggesting that self-love is the fundamental driving force behind all of our actions, even those that appear to be altruistic. This idea of self-love as the foundation of ethics has sparked considerable debate throughout history. Some see it as a realistic assessment of human nature, while others condemn it as a justification for selfishness. But regardless of where one stands on this issue, Boethus' perspective forces us to confront a fundamental question. What is the true nature of love? Is it possible to love another without considering our own needs and desires? Or is self-love the inescapable foundation upon which all other forms of love are built? And here's where things get really interesting. Boethus seems to connect his radical ideas about substance and self-love in a profound way. If substance is truly individual, if each form is unique and inherently valuable, then it follows that the self, the individual form that we are, is also inherently valuable. And if the self is inherently valuable, then self-love is not a vice, but a necessary starting point for a meaningful and ethical life. It's about recognizing our own worth, embracing our individuality, and from that foundation, extending love and care to others. Now, you might be wondering, where does Boethus fit into the broader landscape of ancient philosophy? One of the sources we encountered in our research labeled Boethus as a Stoic philosopher. This is where things get a bit tricky because all other sources we've examined firmly place Boethus in the peripatetic school. So was this YouTube source simply mistaken? Perhaps. But there's a tantalizing possibility here. What if this error hints at a deeper connection? What if Boethus' ideas, though not strictly Stoic, resonated with or even influenced later Stoic thinkers? The YouTube source describes Boethus' views on emotion as revolutionary for Stoicism. Traditional Stoicism viewed emotions as as obstacles to reason, something to be suppressed or eradicated. But Boethus seemingly embraced emotion, arguing for its integration into a rational framework. This is a fascinating point because later Stoic thought did indeed move in this direction, seeking to reconcile reason and emotion, seeing them not as opposing forces, but as complementary aspects of a well-lived life. Could this be an early foreshadowing of later Stoic thought? Did Boethus, a peripatetic philosopher, inadvertently plant a seed that would later blossom within the Stoic tradition? It's a question that deserves further exploration. It reminds us that ideas often transcend the boundaries of schools and movements, flowing like underground rivers, influencing thinkers in unexpected ways. But the mystery of Boethus runs even deeper. Remember, we only have fragments of his thought, scattered references from others. What groundbreaking ideas might lie hidden in the lost works of this enigmatic philosopher? It's as if we're standing on the edge of an ancient library, peering through the dust and cobwebs at shelves filled with forgotten scrolls, each scroll potentially containing insights that could revolutionize our understanding of philosophy and ourselves. But alas, those scrolls remain tantalizingly out of reach, lost to the ravages of time. This sense of loss makes Boethus' story all the more poignant. It's a reminder of the fragility of knowledge, of how easily ideas can be forgotten and how much we may have lost over the centuries. Yet even in the fragments we have, we can discern the outlines of a bold and original thinker, a philosopher who dared to challenge the status quo, to redefine fundamental concepts, and to explore the complexities of human experience with unflinching honesty. Boethus may be a forgotten philosopher, but his story is far from over. It's a story that invites us to become intellectual archaeologists, to piece together the fragments of his thought and to grapple with the profound questions he raised.
And in doing so, we may find that his ideas resonate with surprising force in our own time. So as we conclude this first part of our deep dive into the enigmatic world of Boethus of Sidon, let us carry with us the spirit of inquiry that he embodied. Let us be willing to question even the most cherished assumptions, to explore unconventional ideas, and to embrace the mystery that lies at the heart of knowledge. And who knows, perhaps one day those lost scrolls will resurface, revealing the full brilliance of Boethus' thought to the world once more. Until then, let us cherish the fragments we have and continue to seek out those hidden voices from the past whose ideas continue to challenge and inspire us today. But let's not dwell on what we've lost. Instead, let's turn our attention to what we can glean from the fragments we have. Boethus' challenge to Andronicus over the order of studying Aristotle's works, for example, raises a fascinating question about the nature of knowledge itself. Does logic provide the foundation for understanding the world?
Or is it our experience of the physical world that shapes our ability to reason? This debate isn't just an academic squabble. It has profound implications for how we approach education, how we conduct scientific inquiry, and even how we make sense of our everyday lives. Think about it. Do we learn best by starting with abstract principles and then applying them to the world around us? Or do we learn by observing the world, gathering data, and then constructing our understanding from the ground up? Boethus seems to suggest that the latter approach is more fundamental. By grounding ourselves in the physical world, by grappling with the complexities of nature, we develop a more robust and nuanced understanding of logic and reason. It's as if he's saying, don't just study logic, live it. Observe the world around you, question your assumptions, and let your experience inform your reasoning. This emphasis on experience as the foundation of knowledge connects powerfully with Boethus' radical conception of substance.
If individuality is the essence of reality, then each individual's experience is a unique and valuable source of knowledge. There's no one-size-fits-all approach to understanding the world. Each of us brings our own unique perspective, our own set of observations and insights. And this leads us to another intriguing aspect of Boethus' philosophy, his focus on self-love. Now, this idea can be easily misunderstood. It's not about narcissism or egotism. It's about recognizing the inherent worth of the individual self. If substance is truly individual, as Boethus argues, then the self, the individual form that we are, is also inherently valuable. And if the self is inherently valuable, then self-love is not a vice, but a necessary starting point for a meaningful life. It's about cultivating a deep appreciation for who we are with all our strengths and weaknesses. It's about recognizing our own needs and desires and striving to fulfill them in a way that is both authentic and ethical. But self-love is not an end point.
It's a foundation upon which we can we can build relationships with others. Once we have a strong sense of self-worth, we're better equipped to extend love and compassion to those around us. We can see others not as objects to be used or manipulated, but as unique individuals worthy of respect and care. In a way, Boeth's philosophy is a call to authenticity, as a reminder to embrace our individuality, to cultivate self-love, and to engage with the world from a place of genuine self-expression. And in doing so, we contribute to the rich tapestry of existence, adding our own unique thread to the grand design. Now, as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a question inspired by the tantalizing mystery of Boeth's lost works. What if those lost scrolls contain a map not to some hidden treasure or forgotten land, but to a deeper understanding of ourselves? What if Boeth's philosophy held the key to unlocking a more authentic, a more fulfilling way of being in the world? It's a question worth pondering.
And perhaps as we continue to explore the fragments of his thought, as we piece together the mosaic of his ideas, we'll find that map within ourselves. So we've been exploring the fascinating and often radical ideas of Boethus of Sidon, this enigmatic philosopher whose own writings have been lost to time, and yet whose thoughts continue to challenge and inspire us today. We've talked about his willingness to question even the most revered figures in his own philosophical tradition, his audacious challenge to Aristotle himself over the very way we should approach the study of knowledge. And we've delved into his groundbreaking conception of substance, the idea that individuality is not merely a superficial aspect of reality, but is in fact the very essence of being itself. But as we conclude our deep dive into the world of Boethus, I want to return to a question that has been lingering in the background, a question that arises from the very nature of our sources, the fragmentary whispers that have allowed us to reconstruct, at least in part, the brilliant tapestry of his thought. Mm-hmm. What if those lost scrolls contain a map not to some hidden treasure or forgotten land, but to a deeper understanding of ourselves? What if Boethus' philosophy held the key to unlocking a more authentic, a more fulfilling way of being in the world? It's a tantalizing thought, isn't it, to imagine that somewhere out there, buried perhaps beneath the ruins of some ancient city or hidden away in a forgotten archive, are the complete works of Boethus of Sidon, waiting to be rediscovered. What profound insights might those lost texts reveal? What new perspectives might they offer on the nature of reality, the meaning of human existence, and the very purpose of our lives? We can only speculate, of course.
But I think there's a valuable lesson to be learned from the little fact that these writings have been lost. It reminds us of the fragility of knowledge, of how easily ideas can be forgotten, and how much we may have lost over the centuries. It's a humbling thought, a reminder that our understanding of the world is always incomplete, always in flux, and that there's always more to discover, more to learn, more to explore. And so as we emerge from this deep dive into the enigmatic world of Boethus of Sidon, let us carry with us a renewed sense of curiosity, a thirst for knowledge, and a willingness to embrace the unknown. Let us continue to seek out those hidden voices from the past, those thinkers whose ideas have been marginalized or forgotten, but whose insights may yet hold the key to a richer and more meaningful understanding of ourselves and the world around us.
And who knows, perhaps one day those lost scrolls will resurface, revealing the full brilliance of Boethus' thought to the world once more. Until then, let us cherish the fragments we have and continue to explore the vast and ever-expanding landscape of human thought. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more journeys into Peak Intrigue.
Welcome back to Peak Intrigue. If you haven't already hit that like button and subscribed, now's the perfect time. Today we're diving deep into the world of ancient Stoicism to explore the philosophy of a figure you might not be familiar with, Herodotus of Chalcedon. Now, you might already know that Stoicism originated in ancient Greece. It emphasized virtue, reason, and living in harmony with nature. But Herodotus, well, a student of the school's founder, Zeno of Citium, developed his own unique and somewhat controversial interpretation of Stoic principles. What set Herodotus apart was his radical idea that knowledge, or episteme in Greek, was the ultimate goal, the telos, of human existence. He believed that every single action we take should be driven by the pursuit of knowledge. Imagine that. Living a life where every decision, every interaction is guided by the pursuit of understanding. To really grasp Herodotus' perspective, we need to understand the Stoic concept of oikesis. This refers to the natural impulse of all living things to preserve themselves and seek what benefits them. It's that instinct for self-preservation and flourishing that's woven into the very fabric of life itself.
Herodotus didn't deny the importance of oikesis. In fact, he recognized it as a secondary goal, what he called hypoteles. He argued that both wise and unwise individuals are drawn to this secondary goal, this inherent desire to preserve and benefit themselves. But here's where Herodotus makes a critical distinction. Only the wise, those who prioritize knowledge as their ultimate aim, can truly navigate the complexities of life with clarity and purpose. For Herodotus, knowledge wasn't just an abstract pursuit, it was the key to unlocking a life of true fulfillment. Now, as you might imagine, Herodotus' ideas weren't without their critics. Cicero, the Roman philosopher, took issue with Herodotus' separation of knowledge and oikesis as distinct goals. Cicero believed these two aspects should be intertwined, not treated as separate entities. He argued that the pursuit of knowledge should naturally lead to a life lived in accordance with virtue and in harmony with our natural impulses. But Herodotus held firm to his belief that the practicalities of daily life, our jobs, relationships, material needs, were necessary but ultimately lacked ethical value because they didn't directly contribute to the supreme good of knowledge. It's as if he was saying, yes, we must attend to these matters, but let's not mistake them for the true purpose of our existence. This might seem like a radical stance, but it highlights a key tension. In Herodotus' philosophy, he was willing to challenge conventional wisdom and push the boundaries of Stoic thought, even if it meant disagreeing with prominent figures like Cicero. And this brings us to an interesting connection. Cicero actually linked Herodotus with another philosopher, Aristo of Chios, who was also known for downplaying the significance of external factors. Both thinkers seem to share a belief in the paramount importance of internal virtue and wisdom over external circumstances. To understand Herodotus even further, we can look at the body of work attributed to him. There's a list of writings including titles like On Training, On the Passions, Ethical Theses, and even some dialogues. These titles alone hint at the breadth and depth of Herodotus' intellectual pursuits, offering a glimpse into a mind that dared to challenge conventional wisdom and explore the outer limits of Stoic thought. Before we analyze Herodotus' philosophy any further, let's take a moment to appreciate the historical context. We're talking about a philosopher who lived centuries ago, whose ideas have been passed down through fragments and interpretations. Yet the questions he raised about the nature of knowledge, the purpose of life, and the relationship between our inner world and the external world remain as relevant and thought-provoking today as they were in his time. So, what can we learn from Herodotus' unconventional approach to Stoicism? Perhaps it's a call to examine our own priorities, to question whether we've become overly entangled in the externals, the hypoteles of life, at the expense of cultivating true knowledge and wisdom. Herodotus seems to be urging us to consider what it truly means to live a life guided by knowledge, to explore how the pursuit of understanding can shape not just our thoughts, but our actions, our relationships, our very way of being in the world. It's a radical notion, this unwavering focus on knowledge as the ultimate good, and it's bound to raise questions and objections. Is it even possible or desirable to detach ourselves so completely from the practicalities of life, from the web of relationships and responsibilities that shape our human experience? Can knowledge alone truly provide the compass we need to navigate the complexities of life, the inevitable joys and sorrows, the triumphs and setbacks that make up the tapestry of human existence? These are questions worth pondering. And while Herodotus' answers may not resonate with everyone, his willingness to challenge conventional wisdom, to push the boundaries of philosophical thought, serves as a powerful reminder that there are always multiple ways of seeing the world, of understanding our place within it. Perhaps Herodotus' legacy lies not in providing definitive answers, but in inspiring us to ask deeper questions, to probe the assumptions we hold about what truly matters, to embark on our own quest for knowledge and understanding. And in doing so, we might just discover, as Herodotus suggests, that the pursuit of knowledge is not just an intellectual exercise, but a lifelong journey that can transform our lives from the inside out. So, as we delve deeper into the intricacies of Herodotus' philosophy, I invite you to consider what resonates with you about his ideas, what challenges your existing belief, and most importantly, how might Herodotus' unique perspective on knowledge and oikesis inform your own pursuit of a meaningful life? Let's delve deeper into this idea of knowledge as the ultimate good. It's a concept that might seem abstract at first, but it has profound implications for how we live our lives. Think about it. If knowledge is truly the highest good, then it follows that ignorance is the greatest evil. And Harold believed that most people live in a state of ignorance, chasing after fleeting pleasures and external validations instead of pursuing true understanding. He saw this pursuit of external things, what he called hypoteles, as a distraction from the real purpose of life. It's like we're constantly chasing shadows, never quite grasping the substance of what truly matters. But Harold wasn't simply advocating for intellectual knowledge. He believed that true knowledge encompasses both theoretical understanding and practical wisdom. It's not just about accumulating facts, but about developing the ability to apply those facts to our lives, to make wise choices, and to live in accordance with reason and virtue. And this is where Harold's emphasis on knowledge intersects with his views on ethics. He believed that a life guided by knowledge would naturally lead to a virtuous life, because when we understand the true nature of things, we're less likely to be swayed by our passions, our desires, and the fleeting allure of external rewards. We become more grounded, more resilient, more capable of navigating the challenges of life with equanimity and grace. Now, you might be wondering, how do we actually cultivate this kind of knowledge? How do we move from a state of ignorance to a state of wisdom? Well, for Harold, the path to knowledge involved rigorous self-examination, critical thinking, and a constant striving for understanding. It's a lifelong journey that requires discipline, dedication, and a willingness to challenge our own assumptions and biases. And it's not a solitary pursuit. Harold believed they learn best through dialogue, through engaging in thoughtful conversations with others, and through exposing ourselves to different perspectives. He saw the value in studying philosophy, history, and the natural world. He encouraged his students to observe the world carefully, to ask questions, and to seek out mentors who could guide them on their path to wisdom. But perhaps the most important lesson we can learn from Harold is the idea that knowledge is not simply a means to an end. It's not just a tool for achieving success or happiness. It's an end in itself. The pursuit of knowledge is intrinsically valuable, regardless of its practical applications, because it's through knowledge that we come to understand ourselves, our place in the world, and the nature of reality itself. And this understanding, Harold believed, is the key to unlocking a life of true meaning and fulfillment. So, as you reflect on Harold's ideas, I encourage you to ask yourself, what role does knowledge play in your own life? Do you prioritize the pursuit of understanding, or are you more focused on chasing external rewards and validations? What steps can you take to cultivate greater knowledge and wisdom in your own life? And how might this pursuit transform your perspective on the world and your place within it? As we reach the end of our deep dive into the philosophy of Harold, it's worth considering the legacy he left behind. Despite his somewhat controversial stance within Stoicism, Harold's unwavering focus on knowledge as the ultimate good has resonated through the centuries, prompting us to re-examine our own priorities and values. Now, some might argue that Harold's philosophy is overly idealistic, too detached from the practical realities of life. They might say that it's impossible to live a life solely focused on the pursuit of knowledge, that we have responsibilities, obligations, and desires that pull us in different directions. And to a certain extent, they're right. We can't simply ignore the demands of daily life, the need to provide for ourselves and our loved ones, the social connections that give our lives meaning and purpose. But perhaps that's not what Harold was suggesting. Perhaps his intention wasn't to advocate for a life of pure intellectual isolation, but rather to emphasize the importance of aligning our actions with our values, of ensuring that our pursuit of knowledge informs and guides every aspect of our being. Think about it this way. If knowledge is truly the key to living a virtuous and fulfilling life as Harold believed, then shouldn't it be at the forefront of our minds in everything we do? Shouldn't it influence how we interact with others, how we approach our work, how we make decisions about our health and well-being? By integrating knowledge into the fabric of our lives, we can transform the mundane into the meaningful. We can find purpose and direction even in the most ordinary of tasks, because when we're driven by a thirst for understanding, every experience becomes an opportunity for growth and learning. And this, I believe, is the true essence of Harold's legacy. It's not about rejecting the world or retreating into a life of solitary contemplation. It's about embracing the world with a curious and discerning mind, seeking knowledge in every encounter, and allowing that knowledge to shape our actions and illuminate our path. It's about recognizing that the pursuit of knowledge is not a destination, but a journey, a lifelong exploration that can enrich our lives in countless ways. So as you go forth from this deep dive, I encourage you to keep Harold's teachings in mind. Embrace the power of knowledge. Seek understanding in all that you do, and let that pursuit guide you towards a life of purpose, virtue, and true fulfillment. Remember to like and subscribe to keep those brain gears turning. Until next time, stay intrigued. Welcome back to Peak Intrigue. Remember to like and subscribe. Today we're diving deep into the life and works of Dio Chrysostom, a prominent figure in the Roman Empire during the 1st century AD. You might be familiar with the term golden mouth, used to describe gifted orators. That's exactly what Dio's nickname, Chrysostom, means. He was renowned for his eloquence and his ability to weave philosophy and rhetoric into captivating discourses. We'll be exploring his journey, his thoughts on leadership, the vices of society, and a rather intriguing connection to a certain mythical musician. To guide us through this deep dive, we have an expert joining us. What's fascinating about Dio Chrysostom is that he wasn't just an orator or philosopher. He was a keen observer of human nature and society. His works offer a unique window into the social and political landscape of the Roman Empire, and his insights remain surprisingly relevant even today. I'll start with Dio's journey. Born in Prusa, what is now modern-day Turkey, Dio was a man of considerable privilege and influence. He held important offices, honed his rhetorical skills, and delved into the world of philosophy, finding particular resonance with the Stoic and Platonist schools of thought. This foundation in philosophy would later become a cornerstone of his discourses. His life, however, took a dramatic turn during the reign of Emperor Domitian. If we connect this to the bigger picture, we see that Domitian's rule was marked by paranoia and tyranny. Dio's outspoken criticism of the emperor, particularly his advice to a relative who was conspiring against Domitian, led to his exile in 82 AD, banished from Rome, Italy, and his beloved Bithynia. Dio embarked on a journey that would shape his perspective and his writings. Imagine this. On the advice of the Delphic oracle, Dio sheds his privileged life and adopts the garb of a beggar. With nothing but a copy of Plato's Phaedo and Demosthenes, on the false embassy he wanders through Thrace, Mysia, Scythia, embracing the life of a cynic philosopher. This period of exile was a time of profound introspection for Dio, allowing him to observe the realities of life outside the Roman elite, to encounter different cultures, and to solidify his philosophical convictions. What's interesting here is that the Cynic philosophy emphasized living a life of virtue and simplicity, rejecting material possessions and societal norms. This experience in exile deeply informed his views on wealth, luxury, and the pursuit of pleasure, themes that would later feature prominently in his discourses. This period of exile, however, was not to last forever. The winds of change swept through Rome with the assassination of Domitian and the ascension of Emperor Nerva. Nerva, a friend of Dio, welcomed him back from exile, marking a new chapter in his life. Dio even adopted the surname Cochianus, reflecting Nerva's nomen Cocheus, as a tribute to the emperor who had restored his fortunes. With his exile behind him, Dio's voice once again resonated in the halls of power. He penned his 4 orations on kingship, addressing them to Nerva's successor Trajan, offering his insights on the virtues and challenges of leadership. These orations provide a glimpse into Dio's political philosophy, his belief in the importance of a just and virtuous ruler, and his understanding of the delicate balance between power and responsibility. Now, while Dio certainly moves in circles of power, his works reveal a deep concern for the common man and a sharp critique of societal vices. His discourses often address the people directly, urging them to examine their lives, their values, and their behavior. One particular discourse delivered to the people of Alexandria offers a fascinating window into his views on the pitfalls of societal excess. Picture this. Dio stands before a massive crowd in the Grand Theater of Alexandria, a city renowned for its grandeur, its intellectual pursuits, and its love of entertainment. And yet Dio, ever the keen observer, discerns the darkness beneath the city's shimmering surface, a tendency towards frivolity, towards the pursuit of pleasure above all else. He sees a populace enthralled by music, horse races, and spectacle, losing themselves in the moment, neglecting their duties, and sacrificing their dignity for fleeting entertainment. He begins by gently chiding the Alexandrians for their constant pursuit of amusement. He observes that while they may excel in their appreciation for music and entertainment, they lack a certain seriousness, a depth of thought, that befits the citizens of such a prominent city. He doesn't condemn entertainment altogether, but rather challenges them to cultivate a balance, to find time for introspection amidst their revelry. This raises an important question. What did Dio consider to be true leisure or worthwhile pursuits? He believed that true leisure was not about idleness or passive entertainment, but about engaging in activities that cultivated the mind and the spirit. He reminds them that just as the Athenians once mistakenly adorned their sons' ears with gold, believing it would make them better citizens, so too are the Alexandrians adorning their minds with frivolous pursuits, neglecting the true gold of education and reason. He then draws a powerful analogy, likening the people to a potent and mighty beast. He describes 2 types of democracy. One is reasonable, gentle, and open to counsel, like a noble steed guided by gentle reins. The other, however, is bold, arrogant, and difficult to please, a multifarious and dreadful beast, a composite of the vices of thousands. He suggests that the people of Alexandria, despite their outward grandeur, are in danger of becoming this latter beast, a populace ruled by fleeting desires, easily swayed by spectacle, and prone to fits of frenzy. He further emphasizes the public nature of their behavior, reminding them that Alexandria, due to its size and prominence, is constantly under the scrutiny of the world. He asks them to consider what foreign dignitaries and travelers must think when they witness the Alexandrians' unrestrained behavior in the theater and the stadium. Do they see a people worthy of respect and admiration, or do they see a populace lost in a whirlwind of fleeting pleasures? This is a recurring theme in Dio's work, this idea that we are constantly being judged by others and that our actions reflect not only on ourselves, but on our city and our society as a whole. He believed that we have a responsibility to uphold a certain standard of conduct, to act in a way that brings honor to ourselves and to our community. And then with a storyteller's flair, he shares a curious tale he learned from a Phrygian, a tale that connects the people of Alexandria to a mythical musician, Orpheus. This tale, while seemingly outlandish, serves as a potent metaphor for the seductive and potentially destructive power of music. According to this tale, when Orpheus roamed the lands of Thrace and Macedonia, his music drew creatures from far and wide. Birds and sheep drawn to his enchanting melody flocked to him. However, while most animals experience mere wonder and delight, some dogs, ever shameless and inquisitive, began to imitate Orpheus, practicing his music in their own canine way. When Zeus transformed these animals into humans, they retained their love for music, but their musical expressions remained for the most part canine in nature. The Phrygian Dio, explains, believed that these music-loving dogs were the ancestors of the Alexandrian harpists, suggesting that their music, while technically proficient, lacked the depth and soul of true artistry. It was merely a shadow, an echo, a canine interpretation of the divine music of Orpheus. This tale, while fantastical, serves as a pointed critique of the Alexandrians' musical tastes. What's fascinating here is that Dio is using a myth to make a point about the dangers of imitation and the importance of originality. He's suggesting that true art should elevate the soul, not merely entertain the senses. And he's implying that the Alexandrians obsessed with music is a sign of their superficiality, their preference for the shadow over the substance. Dio goes on to contrast the Alexandrians' embrace of music with the Spartans' wariness of its influence. He recounts how the Spartans, renowned for their discipline and martial prowess, once expelled a famous harpist from their city. They feared his music would soften their warriors, make them susceptible to luxury and idleness. This contrast between the Spartans and the Alexandrians highlights Dio's belief in the importance of balance. He's not advocating for a life devoid of pleasure or beauty, but he's cautioning against the dangers of excess. He believes that a healthy society requires a balance between discipline and enjoyment, between reason and emotion, between the needs of the individual and the needs of the community. He then questions the Alexandrians' obsession with horse racing, describing their behavior in the stadium as a spectacle of unrestrained passion, a whirlwind of shouts, anguish, and bodily contortions. He paints a vivid picture of the Alexandrians losing themselves in the frenzy of the races, their emotions mirroring the tumultuous movements of the chariots on the track. He satirizes their behavior, comparing it to the mythical Ixion, bound eternally to a spinning wheel as punishment for his transgressions. And then with a touch of humor, he suggests that they erect an altar to Poseidon Terexipos, the terror of horses, not to protect the horses from harm, but to protect themselves from their own unrestrained passions. What stands out to you about this passage? It's a powerful example of Dio's rhetorical skill, his ability to use humor, satire, and vivid imagery to drive home his point. He's not simply lecturing the Alexandrians, he's engaging them on an emotional level, appealing to their sense of the absurd, and challenging them to see themselves as others might see them. He reminds them that their obsession with spectacle, their inability to control their emotions, has real-world consequences. He recounts the recent events in Alexandria when their unruly behavior and misplaced bravado nearly led to their destruction. He highlights the absurdity of their actions, describing how some, after a brief show of defiance, quickly laid down their arms and began to sing as though war were merely a playful interlude in their ongoing festival of life. This anecdote about the Alexandrians' near destruction is a stark reminder that the pursuit of pleasure and the neglect of duty can have serious consequences. Dio is warning them that their city, their way of life, is fragile, and that it requires vigilance and self-control to maintain. He concludes his discourse with a powerful metaphor, stating that a city can be captured not only by armies but also by vices. He warns them that their obsession with fleeting pleasures, their inability to prioritize what is truly important, could lead to their downfall, not through a dramatic siege, but through a slow and insidious erosion of their values, their spirit, and their dignity. This final metaphor is a brilliant summation of Dio's message. He's arguing that the greatest threat to a society is not necessarily an external enemy, but the internal decay that can result from a loss of virtue, a surrender to base desires, and a neglect of the things that truly matter. Dio's words, while harsh at times, are delivered with a sense of urgency and concern. He genuinely wants the Alexandrians to recognize the danger of their path, to cultivate a balance in their lives, and to reclaim the dignity and seriousness that befits the citizens of their great city. He sees their potential, their capacity for greatness, but he also sees their weaknesses, their susceptibility to the siren song of fleeting pleasures. He challenges them then to rise above their baser instincts, to embrace reason and virtue, and to become a people worthy of their city's legacy. Dio's discourse to the Alexandrians serves as a potent reminder that the pursuit of fleeting pleasures can lead to the erosion of virtue and the decay of a society. But his critique goes beyond the specific context of ancient Alexandria. It speaks to a universal human tendency, the allure of instant gratification, the temptation to lose ourselves in distractions, and to neglect what is truly important. Think about it. In our modern world, we are bombarded with an endless stream of entertainment, from social media to streaming services to video games. It's easier than ever to lose ourselves in a whirlwind of distractions, to seek solace in the fleeting dopamine rush of likes and notifications, to numb ourselves to the complexities and challenges of the real world. And yet, just as Dio challenged the Alexandrians to find a balance in their lives, to cultivate a sense of seriousness amidst their revelry, so too must we examine our own relationship with entertainment. We must ask ourselves, are we using entertainment as a tool for relaxation and rejuvenation? Or are we allowing it to consume us, to dictate our values, and to shape our perceptions of the world? This is a crucial question that we all need to grapple with. What is the role of entertainment in our lives? Is it a harmless diversion, a way to unwind after a long day, or is it something more insidious, something that is slowly eroding our attention spans, our critical thinking skills, our ability to engage with the world in a meaningful way? Dio's journey, his philosophical insights, and his willingness to speak truth to power offer valuable lessons for us today. He reminds us that true happiness and fulfillment are not found in the pursuit of fleeting pleasures, but in the cultivation of virtue, in the pursuit of knowledge, and in the service of others. These are timeless values that are just as relevant today as they were in Dio's time. We live in a world that often prioritizes instant gratification, material wealth, and superficial success. But Dio's work reminds us that true fulfillment comes from within, from living a life of purpose and meaning, from cultivating our character, and from contributing to something larger than ourselves. And that concludes our deep dive into the world of Dio Chrysostom. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for joining me.
Welcome back to Peak Intrigue. If you find value in our deep dives into fascinating topics, consider liking this episode and subscribing to the channel for more. Today we're diving deep into the life and philosophy of Seneca the Younger. Now, Seneca wasn't just another philosopher. In ancient Rome, he was a playwright, an advisor to Emperor Nero, and ultimately a victim of the very political turmoil that defined his era. Seneca's life was a study in contrasts. Born into Roman aristocracy, he navigated the treacherous waters of imperial politics, amassing wealth and influence, but always under the shadow of danger. His story is a testament to the enduring power of philosophy, even amidst chaos and personal tragedy. One of the most fascinating aspects of Seneca's life is his early encounter with mortality. A chronic illness in his youth instilled in him an acute awareness of life's fragility. This experience shaped his philosophical outlook, compelling him to strive for a life of substance rather than just duration. Driven by ambition and a thirst for knowledge, Seneca journeyed to Rome, where he quickly rose through the ranks of society. His eloquence and sharp intellect earned him recognition as a gifted orator and writer, eventually attracting the attention of the imperial court. However, his proximity to power would prove to be a double-edged sword. Under the reign of the notoriously unstable Emperor Caligula, Seneca's success became a liability. His talent as an orator, while admired by many, sparked jealousy in the emperor, leading to a near-death experience. He was ordered to commit suicide only to be spared at the last moment due to a rumor, perhaps strategically spread, that he was already suffering from a terminal illness. This brush with death served as a stark reminder of the precariousness of life under a tyrannical ruler. But the respite was short-lived. When Claudius, Caligula's successor, ascended to the throne, Seneca once again became a target.
Banished to the remote island of Corsica, he was forced to confront the harsh reality of exile. Separated from the intellectual vibrancy of Rome and the comforts of his former life, Seneca turned inward, finding solace in his writing and philosophical pursuits. It's fascinating how Seneca used this period of immense hardship to fuel his philosophical growth. His letters from exile are some of his most powerful work. They reveal a man grappling with loss and uncertainty while clinging to his Stoic principles to find meaning in adversity. In these letters, he explores themes of friendship, love, and the ephemeral nature of wealth and status. He reflects on the importance of virtue, reason, and living in accordance with nature. These ideas would become the cornerstones of his philosophy, and they continue to resonate with readers centuries later. Despite the isolation, Seneca never abandoned his belief in the power of Stoicism. He saw exile not as a punishment, but as an opportunity for self-reflection and philosophical refinement. He continued to write, exploring themes that are as relevant today as they were in ancient Rome. How do we find meaning in a world of chaos? How do we cope with loss and adversity? What does it mean to live a good life? And then, in a twist of fate that would dramatically alter the course of his life, Seneca was recalled from exile by Agrippina, the ambitious wife of Emperor Claudius. Agrippina, scheming to secure her son Nero's succession to the throne, saw in Seneca a valuable asset. She appointed him as tutor to the young Nero, hoping to instill in him the wisdom and virtue necessary for a just and effective ruler. Seneca, ever the pragmatist, accepted this perilous opportunity, perhaps driven by a sense of duty or maybe a glimmer of hope that he could mold the future emperor into a benevolent leader. This marked the beginning of Seneca's complex and ultimately tragic relationship with Nero. He found himself thrust back into the heart of Roman power, tasked with guiding a young man who would become one of history's most infamous tyrants. The dynamic between teacher and student was fraught with tension, a clash between Seneca's Stoic ideals and Nero's burgeoning cruelty. A fascinating glimpse into this complex dynamic is captured in a statue by Spanish sculptor Eduardo Barón depicting Seneca and Nero. The statue portrays Seneca seated, holding a document, attempting to impart wisdom to his people. Nero, on the other hand, appears sullen and defiant, his fists clenched, seemingly unwilling to heed his tutor's counsel. The statue, through its powerful imagery, encapsulates the struggle between Seneca's hope for a virtuous emperor and the reality of Nero's increasingly despotic nature. Despite the challenges, Seneca persevered, clinging to the belief that he could influence Nero for the better. He saw his role not merely as a tutor, but as a guardian, attempting to steer Nero towards a path of justice and moderation. However, as Nero grew older, the chasm between their worldviews widened, leading to an inevitable and tragic confrontation. Sensing the growing danger, Seneca attempted to distance himself from the imperial court, seeking a peaceful retirement. But Nero, increasingly paranoid and suspicious of those around him, would not allow it. He saw Seneca's retreat as a betrayal, a sign of disloyalty. In a chilling act of cruelty, Nero ordered Seneca to commit suicide. Faced with this grim decree, Seneca met his fate with stoic resolve. He refused to beg for mercy, choosing instead to demonstrate the principles he had espoused throughout his life. He gathered his friends, offering them words of comfort and urging them to find strength in his example. Even in his final moments, Seneca remained a teacher. He reminded his friends and perhaps posterity that the true measure of a life lies not in its length, but in its virtue. His death, while orchestrated by a tyrant, became a testament to the enduring power of philosophy, to provide solace and meaning even in the face of death. Seneca's life, despite his tragic end, left an indelible mark on Roman history and philosophy. His writings, particularly his letters, offer timeless insights into human nature, the pursuit of virtue, and the art of living a meaningful life. They continue to resonate with modern audiences, offering guidance and inspiration for navigating life's inevitable challenges. Now let's delve deeper into Seneca's philosophical teachings, exploring the core principles of Stoicism that shaped his worldview and guided his actions. His philosophy, grounded in the Stoic tradition, emphasized the importance of virtue, reason, and living in accordance with nature. He believed that true happiness lay not in external circumstances, but in the cultivation of inner peace and self-control. Seneca taught that we should focus on what is within our control, our thoughts and actions, rather than being swayed by external events or the opinions of others. He stressed the importance of virtue as the ultimate good, arguing that a virtuous life was a life lived in harmony with reason and nature. He believed that by aligning our actions with our rational understanding of the world, we could achieve a state of tranquility and fulfillment, even in the face of adversity. Seneca's writings are filled with practical advice on how to live a virtuous life. He offered guidance on managing emotions, overcoming fear and anxiety, and finding contentment in the present moment. His work serves as a timeless guide to navigating the complexities of human existence and finding meaning in a world often characterized by chaos and uncertainty. One of Seneca's most enduring contributions to Stoic philosophy is his emphasis on the importance of time. He saw time as our most precious resource, a gift that should not be squandered. In his letters, he repeatedly urges his readers to live each day to the fullest, to make the most of the present moment, and to avoid procrastinating on the pursuit of a virtuous life. He wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Life is long enough, and a sufficiently generous amount has been given to us for the highest achievements if it were all well invested." Seneca believed that by carefully managing our time and directing our energies towards worthwhile pursuits, we could achieve a sense of fulfillment and purpose. His teachings on time management are particularly relevant in our modern age, where distractions abound and the demands on our attention are constant. Seneca's wisdom reminds us to be mindful of how we spend our days, to prioritize what truly matters, and to make conscious choices about how we allocate our most valuable resource, time. By heeding his advice, we can strive to live more intentional and meaningful lives, making the most of the precious time we are given. Seneca's philosophy is not merely a set of abstract ideas. It is a practical guide to living a better life. His teachings are grounded in the realities of human experience, addressing the challenges and uncertainties we all face. He offered wisdom on coping with loss, dealing with difficult people, and finding peace amidst the turmoil of daily life. His work, while written centuries ago, remains surprisingly relevant to our modern struggles. Seneca's insights into the nature of happiness are particularly valuable in a world often obsessed with external validation and material possessions. He argued that true happiness is not found in fleeting pleasures or the accumulation of wealth, but in the cultivation of virtue and the pursuit of a life aligned with our rational nature. He believed that by focusing on what is truly important, our character, our relationships, and our contributions to the world, we could achieve a lasting sense of fulfillment. His teachings on resilience are also essential for navigating the inevitable setbacks and challenges we encounter in life. Seneca believed that we should view obstacles not as defeats, but as opportunities for growth and learning. He encouraged his readers to develop mental toughness, to persevere in the face of adversity, and to emerge from trial stronger and wiser. Seneca's life and philosophy offer a powerful reminder that even in the face of immense challenges, we have the power to choose how we respond. By embracing Stoic principles, by focusing on what is within our control, by cultivating virtue, and by living in accordance with reason and nature, we can find meaning and purpose even in the most difficult circumstances. Now let us explore how Seneca's philosophy, despite its roots in ancient Rome, continues to resonate with contemporary audiences. His teachings on resilience, the importance of time management, and the pursuit of a meaningful life offer valuable guidance for navigating the complexities of the modern world. Seneca's work has resonated through the centuries, inspiring countless individuals to live more thoughtful and deliberate lives. His writings have been translated into numerous languages and continue to be studied by philosophers, historians, and those seeking wisdom for everyday life. His insights into the nature of happiness, the importance of virtue, and the art of living well transcend cultural and historical boundaries, offering timeless wisdom for all who seek a more fulfilling existence. In the next part of our exploration, we will delve deeper into the specific teachings of Seneca, examining his insights on virtue, friendship, time management, and the art of living a good life. We will also explore how his philosophy can be applied to the challenges and opportunities of the 21st century. Seneca's life was a whirlwind of extremes. He experienced immense wealth and political influence, yet lived under the constant threat of death. Amidst the chaos of Roman politics, his wisdom and philosophical insights stand out as a beacon of clarity. His writings, particularly his letters, provide a unique window into the mind of a man grappling with life's complexities. They offer timeless insights into human nature and the pursuit of a life well lived. Central to Seneca's philosophy is the Stoic idea of virtue as the sole good. He firmly believed that external factors such as wealth, status, or even health were ultimately indifferent. True happiness, he argued, stemmed from living in accordance with nature. For humans, this meant living a life of virtue. This emphasis on inner strength and moral integrity resonates deeply with those seeking meaning and purpose in a world often driven by external validation. Seneca's writings are a treasure trove of practical advice on how to cultivate virtue. He stresses the importance of self-control, arguing that our passions, if left unchecked, can lead us astray. He encourages us to examine our motives, to act with reason and justice, and to resist the temptations of greed, anger, and excessive pleasure. His insights into the workings of the human mind and the importance of moral discipline provide a valuable roadmap for personal growth and ethical decision-making. One of the most striking aspects of Seneca's philosophy is his focus on the fleeting nature of time. He constantly reminds his readers that time is our most precious resource, a gift that should not be wasted. His words carry a sense of urgency, urging us to make the most of each day, avoid procrastination, and live with a sense of purpose. This focus on the present moment, on savoring the time we have, is a powerful antidote to the modern tendency to dwell on the past or anxiously anticipate the future. Seneca's writings on time aren't just theoretical, they are filled with practical advice on how to manage this precious resource. He encourages us to set priorities to eliminate distractions, and to be mindful of how we spend our days. He reminds us that every moment offers an opportunity for growth, for learning, and for living in accordance with our values. His insights into time management are especially relevant in our hyper-connected world, where distractions are constant and the demands on our attention are relentless. Seneca's teachings on friendship are another valuable source of guidance for navigating the complexities of human relationships. He believed that true friendship was a rare and precious gift, a source of strength and support in a world often characterized by superficiality and self-interest. He emphasized the importance of choosing friends wisely, seeking out those who share our values, and who inspire us to become better versions of ourselves. Seneca's own life serves as a poignant example of the importance of friendship. During his exile, his friends provided him with solace and intellectual stimulation, helping him endure the isolation and hardship. Later, when facing death at Nero's command, he found comfort in the company of his loved ones, sharing his final moments with those who had enriched his life. His experience underscores the profound impact that meaningful relationships can have on our well-being and our ability to face life's challenges with courage and grace. Beyond the practical advice on virtue, time management, and friendship, Seneca's writings delve into deeper existential questions about the nature of happiness, the purpose of life, and how to confront death with dignity. He challenges us to examine our values, to live authentically, and to find meaning not in fleeting pleasures, but in the pursuit of wisdom and a life well lived. His insights into the human condition, while rooted in the context of ancient Rome, transcend time and culture, offering a timeless source of guidance and inspiration for those seeking a more meaningful and fulfilling existence. Now let's shift our focus to Seneca's legacy and explore how his philosophy continues to influence contemporary thought. We'll examine how his teachings can be applied to the challenges and opportunities of the 21st century and delve into the enduring relevance of Stoicism as a philosophy for navigating the complexities of modern life and finding meaning in a world often characterized by uncertainty and rapid change. Seneca's legacy is far-reaching. It goes beyond the confines of ancient Rome. His writings, filled with timeless wisdom and practical guidance, continue to resonate with those seeking meaning and purpose in our complex and uncertain world. His philosophy, rooted in the Stoic tradition, offers a framework for navigating life's challenges, cultivating inner peace, and living a life of virtue and fulfillment. Seneca's enduring appeal lies in his ability to bridge the gap between philosophical theory and practical application. He doesn't just present abstract ideas, he provides concrete advice on how to manage our emotions, cope with adversity, cultivate meaningful relationships, and make the most of our time. His insights into the human condition, while grounded in the context of ancient Rome, transcend time and culture, offering valuable guidance for anyone seeking a more fulfilling and meaningful existence. One of the most striking aspects of Seneca's legacy is how much his teachings resonate with contemporary concerns. His emphasis on resilience, for instance, is particularly relevant in a world where individuals face unprecedented levels of stress, uncertainty, and change. Seneca reminds us that we have the power to choose how we respond to challenges, that we can cultivate inner strength and find opportunities for growth even in the face of adversity. His insights into the nature of happiness also hold profound relevance for modern audiences. In a society often obsessed with material possessions and external validation, Seneca's emphasis on virtue, inner peace, and living in accordance with nature offers a powerful antidote to the pursuit of fleeting pleasures and empty achievements. He reminds us that true happiness lies not in what we acquire, but in who we are and how we live. Seneca's teachings on time management are perhaps more relevant today than ever before. In our hyper-connected world where distractions are constant and the demands on our attention are relentless, his advice on prioritizing, eliminating distractions, and living in the present moment provides a valuable framework for reclaiming our time and focusing on what truly matters. The enduring relevance of Seneca's philosophy is a testament to the universality of the human experience. The challenges he addresses, managing our emotions, coping with loss, finding meaning and purpose, navigating relationships, are as relevant today as they were in ancient Rome. His writings offer a timeless source of wisdom and guidance for those seeking to live more fulfilling and virtuous lives. Seneca's life, despite its tragic end, serves as an inspiration to us all. He faced immense challenges: exile, political turmoil, the threat of death, yet he never wavered in his commitment to his principles. His example reminds us that even in the face of adversity, we have the power to choose how we respond, to maintain our integrity, and to live in accordance with our values. Seneca's philosophy is not a passive set of beliefs. It is a call to action. He challenges us to examine our lives, to cultivate virtue, to make the most of our time, and to strive to make a positive contribution to the world. His legacy is a reminder that philosophy is not an abstract pursuit, but a way of life, a guide to living with wisdom, purpose, and integrity. Thank you for joining us for this Peak Intrigue Deep Dive. We hope you will return for more explorations into the lives and ideas of fascinating figures from history and contemporary culture.